At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 576. Woody and Zhang Yi insisted on fighting to untie his knot. Bailey Changqing had no choice but to act as an intermediary to judge. So Bailey Changqing took them away from the password bar and went to the martial arts venue specially provided for soldiers in the region. This place is located in the center of the battle. Even at night, it is still brightly lit and guarded by elite soldiers. Bailey Changqing brought Zhang Yi into the room without hindrance. Zhang Yi was also observing here along the way. This place gave him a sense of fantasy beyond the times. All the buildings inside are made of dark silver metal-like substances, which even feel more advanced than the materials in his shelter. The defense is not at the same level either. The height of the first floor alone is more than 10 meters. People standing here can clearly feel their own insignificance. Zhang Yi suddenly thought of something, smiled and said to Bailey Changqing, "Can I call my friends over?" Bailey Changqing looked at him in surprise. "Why, don't you trust us?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "That's not true. It's just that, if I get injured, I need my personal doctor to treat me." Bailey Changqing smiled. "Don't worry, there are specialized doctors in this place." And he glanced at Woody, but didn't say the rest of the sentence. "With your Zhang Yi's strength, could you be injured?" Zhang Yi smiled meaningfully. "I only accept treatment from my own doctor." After thinking about it for a while, Bailey Changqing probably understood Zhang Yi's concerns. Although ordinary people are not allowed to enter the combat center, the core area is not a martial arts arena, so it doesn't hurt to call others over to watch the battle. "Okay, you can call your friends over, and I'll give them passes." Zhang Yi nodded, so he asked Liang Yu and others to come here. In fact, his most important purpose is to get Lu Karen to come here. Let her use the ability of God-machine manipulation to analyze the materials of this place for him. It would be best if it could be imitated, and his shelter could be strengthened in the future. Areas A and B are high-level areas in Blizzard City, and they are relatively close to the combat center. So not long after, Lu Karen and the others came here. When they first arrived here, they were also full of curiosity and were shocked by this magnificent building. The most obvious thing is the murderous spirit here, emanating from every soldier. You must know that even the soldiers who are only in charge of guarding the combat center are members of Blizzard City's elite Yan'an troops. When Lu Karen and the others arrived here, they hurried over to ask Zhang Yi what's the matter. Zhang Yi simply said that he was going to duel with Woody. Everyone heard that. Their eyes were strange. Woody wants to fight Zhang Yi. He must be a little overwhelmed, right? But Zhang Yi said in a low voice, "This kid is not stupid, he is very smart. I know that I can't use my full strength in Blizzard City. Otherwise, in other places, you can try. If he dares to challenge me one-on-one." When Lu Karen heard what Zhang Yi said, he frowned immediately and said with some disgust, "Then he is so despicable." "Uncle," you asked in confusion, "what's the point of him doing this? It would be disgraceful, even if he wins against you who are not fighting with all your strength." Zhang Yi said calmly, "What he wants to prove is that he is stronger than me during the Battle of Xianhe City. Some people are like this. They always hope to find spiritual comfort for themselves. This is one of his obsessions. However, there may be other secrets." Zhang Yi lowered his eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "In short, I must defeat him without revealing my strength." This is a little bit challenging for Zhang Yi, but not much. He already knew Woody's ability very well. But then again, apart from his new abilities, Woody also knew a lot about his abilities. Zhang Yi raised his head and looked at Lu Karen. "Combustible. It's rare to be able to enter the interior of the combat center. Take this opportunity to get in touch with various materials here. Do you understand what I mean?" Lu Karen let out a yeah. He thought he was just here to watch the fun, but he didn't expect there was a mission. But she nodded excitedly. "Okay, I promise to complete the task." The job is also quite challenging for her, but she loves it so much. After having the ability, her favorite thing to do is to research new materials and make new machinery and weapons. When several people were chatting, Bailey Changking pulled Woody aside. Woody calmly changed himself into a tight black leather jacket and then wrapped a black bandage around his wrist. Bailey Changking frowned and said worriedly, "Zio Wu, Zhang Yi's strength is not weaker than before. He can even resist you and Kang Gai's attack. Can you really defeat him?" Woody's eyes were shining brightly, but he didn't have the arrogance before. "I understand. But the boss, I have already figured out his ability during that battle." Woody's eyes were burning. His strength lies in defense, not offense. If it wasn't for you and Kang Gai's weak combat experience, he wouldn't have succeeded so easily. When Boss Bayan was alive, he always told me that the strength of ability does not determine everything. The key is here. He pointed to his head. "I've already thought of a way to win him." A smug smile appeared on the corner of Woody's mouth. "At least this time, I must beat him once. Otherwise, I will never be reconciled in my life." What he desires most is the approval of Bayan Junwu. Even if Bayan Junwu is dead, as long as he defeats Zhang Yi, whom Bayan Junwu has placed high hopes on, he will be satisfied. What's more, he knew that Zhang Yi would not use his full strength here. In any case, just winning is enough. People who are good at the right time and place are also good fighters. Bailey Changking sighed helplessly. "I hope so." He also felt that Woody's analysis made sense. Fighting against someone with maximum defensive power like Zhang Yi, as long as you don't overwhelm him, you won't be in too much danger. Of course, the premise is that Zhang Yi doesn't use his extremely lethal space slashing skills. Bailey Changking turned around to look for Zhang Yi, and he had to tell Zhang Yi a few words. Soon Bailey Changking came to Zhang Yi, smiled and said to him, "Let's go. I will take you to change clothes first." "Do you still need to change clothes for the duel?" Zhang Yi asked with a smile. "Of course." Bailey Changking laughed and said, "When fighting in the martial arts arena, you must wear training clothes. This can protect your body from harm very well." As soon as the words fell, Zhang Yi saw Woody, who was wearing a black tights, coming out of the dressing room. Zhang Yi nodded. "Okay, let's go there." Chapter 577 Blizzard City 039 S Space Element Ability Users. Accompanied by Bailey Changking, Zhang Yi came to the locker room. There were grids on the cabinet by the wall. Bailey Changking walked over, took out a set of training clothes with his authority, and handed it to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi took the training suit and walked into the compartment inside. He first carefully inspected the training clothes to see if there were any special devices. The feeling of this suit is very strange. The weight is much heavier than ordinary tights, and the thickness is much higher than ordinary cloth. It is obviously made of some kind of high-tech special material. If I wear it, I'm afraid my personal data will also be recorded. Zhang Yi's eyes shone brightly. Fortunately, I'm not an alien of the strengthening department. Just collecting my physical data is harmless. As for whether I will collect my ability data, can I just keep my strength? Anyway, his basic abilities must be counted in the Jiangnan region, and his only secret is the new fighting style that he awakened after absorbing the source of the original Sky and Night. It is impossible for him to demonstrate that ability to anyone here, because that is his trump card. Zhang Yi took off his coat and put on the tights. This suit is very interesting. There is no structure such as zippers, but after wearing it on the body, press a button on the right hand, and the tights will automatically fit tightly on the body. After wearing it, Zhang Yi didn't feel any discomfort. He moved his body, and he felt a strange feeling. His body seemed to become more flexible and his strength became stronger. This kind of training clothes is actually so effective? Zhang Yi said in surprise. He walked out of the compartment, and Bailey Changking was waiting for him outside. Zhang Yi expressed the question in his heart. Bailey Changking smiled and said, "The training uniform is actually the same material as the combat uniform of our investigation team. We usually wear a set of built-in combat uniforms when we go out to perform tasks. It can improve our overall quality." It's not even an exaggeration to say that, even if an ordinary person wears it, he can achieve the most basic physical performance of an alpha level enhanced alien. Zhang Yi looked at the training clothes on his body in surprise. There are such amazing clothes. Bailey Changking saw Zhang Yi's hot eyes and reminded with a smile, "This kind of training uniform is very precious. In Blizzard City, only people from the Yan'an army and the 6th investigation team are eligible to use it. If you like it, you can consider joining our black robe team. The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth twitched. Is this still free? Bailey Changqing shrugged. He knew that Zhang Yi didn't like being restrained. Then, let's go to the martial arts field. Zhang Yi said, don't worry, I'll leave my satellite phone to them for safekeeping. The satellite phone contains a person's secret, and Bailey Changqing thought that Zhang Yi didn't trust the custody mechanism here, so he could only laugh. Okay, you are really cautious enough, Zhang Yi said with a smile. Be careful sailing for thousands of years. Details determine success or failure. His words were full of puns, and Bailey Changqing didn't realize the deep meaning in his words. He walked out with Zhang Yi. At this time, Wu Di was already waiting for Zhang Yi's arrival in the center of the martial arts arena. He crossed his arms, closed his eyes and meditated, trying to adjust himself to the best state. Zhang Yi came to Lu Karen and the others, and handed over the satellite phone to Lu Karen. Combustible, please help me keep this thing first. Zhang Yi turned his back to Bailey Changqing, and gave Lu Karen a wink. Lu Karen understood, and reached out to touch the training clothes on Zhang Yi's arm. Zhang Yi chatted with her a few words, and delayed for a while. After Lu Karen finished analyzing the material structure of the training suit, Zhang Yi turned around, and walked towards the martial arts arena. Zhang Yi, click as far as you can, click as far as you can. Bailey Changqing did not forget to remind Zhang Yi. He was very worried that Zhang Yi would hit the head, and when Shen Wei was used, it would probably kill Wu Di in one blow. Even if he is physically as strong as him, he can't guarantee that he can survive after receiving that move. Not to mention Wu Di's small arms and legs. Zhang Yi waved his hand to the back, signaling Bailey Changqing not to worry. Soon, he followed the passage to the martial arts arena below. As for Bailey Changqing, Lu Karen, Zhao Kera and others, they watched the battle on the second floor. The entire martial arts arena is about half the size of a football field, and its shape is similar to a football field or the ancient Roman Colosseum. There are more than 10-story buildings on the periphery, and the battle scenes in the field can be clearly seen. Standing tens of meters away from Wu Di, Zhang Yi looked at the surrounding space and frowned slightly. This place seems to be a little small, and some of them can't be used. The battle between high-level aliens can easily cause large-scale destruction, and this small space is obviously not enough. Wu Di put his hands in his pockets and said lightly, "Oh, you don't have to worry about this." Zhang Yi didn't say anything yet, but in an instant, all the scenes in front of him were pulled away. Wu Di, who was tens of meters away from him, suddenly ran hundreds of meters away. And the martial arts field, which is half the size of a football field, has also become a size of more than 10 square kilometers. Zhang Yi was startled for a moment, and then understood. Is this a spatial ability? This was the first time he had seen a space system ability user other than himself. At this time, it wasn't just Zhang Yi and the space in front of them that became larger. On the viewing platform on the second floor, the scene in front of Lu Karen, Zhao Kera and others also became vast. However, rather than saying that the scene has become larger, it is better to say that everything in front of him has shrunk. Bailey Changqing explained to them, this is the ability of the administrator of the martial arts field. Its name is Martial Arts Field, and it is a highly functional space system ability. In the ears of Zhang Yi and Wu Di, a mechanical and emotionless voice sounded. Yang Wu, start. At the beginning of the battle, no one noticed that apart from Zhao Kera and the others, there were actually other spectators present. The use level of the martial arts field is very high, and only members of the investigation team and Yan'an cadres are eligible. And battles of this level don't happen often in the entire Blizzard City. So when the martial arts field was applied for opening, it naturally attracted many people to watch the battle. For example, Deng Shentong, the captain of the Xianshan team, is currently in a room on the third floor, looking at the two people in the field meaningfully. For Zhang Yi, he was more or less curious. If he can really defeat Wu Di, then it's not impossible to give him a chance to become the substitute of the Xianshan team. Deng Shentong leaned on the railing, squinted his eyes and smiled. Behind him, followed by two members of the Celestial Squad, a short-haired brawny man with a beard, and a feminine-looking man in white. Chapter 578 Fighting Wu Di. Deng Shentang was watching the battle upstairs, and several members of the Black Robe team also arrived here one after another. It is rare to have such a wonderful battle, of course they will not miss it. But among these audiences, they are not the most popular. Because today, Zhu Zheng, the commander of the Jiangnan region, also appeared in the martial arts arena. He sat in the box on the 5th floor. The glass in front of him turned into a huge screen, and this screen was divided into more than a dozen pieces, observing the two people in the field from various angles. On the sofa to his right sat Tu Yunli, chief of operations, and his secretary Lan Xincheng stood on his left, and his guard son Luxuan was on his right. It can be said that at least half of the bosses in the entire Blizzard City are still in the city. It is indeed extraordinary that a simple duel can attract the attention of so many people. The battle begins. The distance between the two parties is several hundred meters, but both of them are long-range attack types, so this distance is not a big problem. Zhang Yi took out two white owls with both hands, aimed at Wu Di, and pulled the trigger. Precise shooting. The bullet automatically locked onto Wu Di's position. It's just that what Zhang Yi used this time was not the holy silver bullet that could break the magic, but a special armor-piercing bullet. Using the holy silver bullet in Blizzard City, it is easy to suspect that it is a replica of the origin bullet. Zhang Yi would not make such a low-level mistake. But even armor-piercing projectiles also have extremely powerful lethality under the attachment of his abilities. But when Zhang Yi raised his hand, hundreds of white light balls appeared around Wu Di's body, covering him completely. When the bullet approached the white light balls around him, it was melted in the air. Seeing this scene, Deng Shentang couldn't help but nodded. This kid has great talent. Wu Di's talent is very high, and the floating cannon that transforms mental power into energy is very promising even to the frontier soldiers. After the battle in Xianhai City, it was obvious that his fighting power had risen to another level. Zhang Yi was unmoved. Wu Di knew his ability, and he would definitely be wary of his spear skills. It would be strange if Wu Di couldn't defend against it. But so what? Do you have more mental power, or do I have more bullets? Zhang Yi pulled the trigger with both hands, and kept shooting at Wu Di, while slowly moving the direction. All the bullets were shot at the same position, trying to break through the defensive area of the floating cannon. It's useless. I have already understood your attack method. This attack method wants to hurt me. It is absolutely impossible. Wu Di stretched his right hand forward. A dozen orbs of light condensed into a huge floating cannon and blasted towards Zhang Yi viciously. In an instant, a white beam of light penetrated the space and came to Zhang Yi. But the beam of light suddenly disappeared in mid-air. Zhang Yi opened the door to the dimension from the beginning of the battle. Wu Di knew his ability, and he also knew Wu Di's ability. At this time, the two are competing for their whole cards and their ability to see and dismantle their moves. The ability of the space system can absorb attacks, right? Deng Shentang stroked his chin and said curiously. But he laughed immediately. But this kind of absorption must not be infinite. I don't know if he can take my attack or not. At this time, the bearded man behind him smiled and said, space-type abilities rarely have powerful attack methods. However, I'm very interested in learning from him. The feminine man next to the beard heard the words and smiled faintly. There are very few people with melee space abilities like you. If you fight him, isn't that bullying him? The bearded man laughed loudly. It's true. It was indeed too bullying for him to fight against a foreigner like Zhang Yi outside of Blizzard City. Because he is the vice captain of the Xianshan team, Shenquan Liao Hongli. Deng Shentang rested his face lazily on one hand. His face was as pretty as a woman's. It doesn't matter, all I need is his ability to store items. This will make it much easier for our team to carry out missions in the future. However, if he can give me a little shock of the space system, it will be more interesting. Deng Shentang looked at Zhang Yi on the martial arts arena with anticipation in his eyes. In the first wave of temptations by Zhang Yi and Wu Di, neither of them could do anything to the other. But the attack of the two continued. Only by continuing to attack will the opponent be forced to show his flaws. Zhang Yi ran out of bullets in both pistols, and then he suddenly pressed the button on the handle of the gun, and the empty clip fell off. Two full magazines appeared out of thin air, and he replaced them with one hand. Bang 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 bang. Zhang Yi's shooting didn't stop for a moment. Even if it is a foreigner, it is impossible to remain indifferent in the face of this kind of attack. And Woody's aperture defense is really powerful, not letting a bullet get close to Woody's body. But to Zhang Yi, it doesn't matter, as long as he can consume the invincible ability, even a little bit is valuable. Woody stared at Zhang Yi, not daring to be careless in his heart. He knew that Zhang Yi was good at defense, but not very good at attack. But Zhang Yi has a supernatural power, but it can directly hit him hard. However, this skill is not perfect. After Woody went back, he had carefully studied Zhang Yi's information. It was found that before using Shenwei, he would have obvious skill swings forward, and the distortion of space was not in place in one step. Moreover, Shenwei consumes a lot of power. After releasing it, Zhang Yi's body will be in a state of emptiness for a short time, and he will not be able to use Shenwei for a second time in a short period of time. As long as he stays vigilant and avoids Shenwei's attack in time, he can take advantage of Zhang Yi's attack gap to fight back. Look at my trick again, it's specially prepared for you. Woody spread his hands with a sneer, and light spots the size of water droplets slowly appeared around his arms, so densely packed that there were thousands of them. This is a small floating cannon. Although it is not as powerful as the previous light sphere, it is better in large numbers, making it difficult for people to defend. Then he waved his hands, and thousands of light spots cut through the space in an instant and shot towards Zhang Yi. The gate of the dimension. Zhang Yi took his time and opened the gate of dimension to block in front of him. However, those light spots did not directly enter the gate of dimension, but suddenly spread out in the air and flew towards all directions around Zhang Yi. Is this AoE attack on me? Zhang Yi immediately understood Woody's intention. There was a smile on the corner of Woody's mouth. The side team once said that your ability can restrain my floating cannon. But this kind of attack from all directions, with no dead ends, how do you defend? Thousands of light spots are suspended in mid-air, covering the so-called orientation around Zhang Yi's body. In Zhang Yi's bright eyes, they became brighter and hotter. Then, there was a series of astonishing explosions. Chapter 579 Floating Cannon. Boom. Thousands of miniature floating cannons exploded around Zhang Yi's body, illuminating the space with bright light, causing dazzling light pollution. Liang Yu couldn't help but said, he really came prepared. In this way, it will be difficult for Zhang Yi's double doors to exert a defensive effect. Uncle Yu also crossed his arms and said, Zhang Yi's defense itself is not very strong, so even the explosion of a miniature floating cannon will cause damage to Zhang Yi. But, can Zhang Yi be defeated in this way? At least Uncle Yu and the others won't be worried. Because in the face of such a large AoE attack, Zhang Yi still has the means to deal with it. The next moment, everyone saw Zhang Yi's figure emerging from a distance. Then he pulled the trigger with both hands and shot towards Woody. Although it is impossible to absorb this kind of indiscriminate attack with double doors, it is still possible to escape from the range of the attack. Oh. Space shuttle? What an interesting life-saving ability. Deng Shentang's eyes lit up slightly. Liao Hongli still said, is it just that you can run for your life? Although it is a very powerful ability in the last days, but only if it is like this, it is still not qualified to be an official member of the investigation team. The investigation team needs personnel capable of fighting to carry out their missions. They only know how to defend blindly, which is really useless to them. In another room, ZHU Zheng and others were also staring at the screen to watch their battle. ZHU Zheng's eyes mainly fell on Zhang Yi's picture. Seeing that his spatial ability was biased towards defense, ZHU Zheng immediately saw the characteristics of his ability. His ability should be to connect to a different space outside of this world. Whether it is absorbing attacks or traveling through space, he uses different spaces as a medium. It's just, how will he attack? The vast majority of aliens have only one ability, even though they can develop multiple skills from it, they are all developed from one ability. Zhang Yi's abilities don't seem to be very aggressive, no matter how developed they are mostly used for storage and defense. Just blindly defending. How to defeat Woody, who has a strong attacking ability? Sun Luxun, who was behind ZHU Zheng, lowered his body slightly and said to him, Commander, I think this Zhang Yi must be hiding a powerful killing move. ZHU Zheng couldn't help being a little surprised when he heard Sun Luxun's evaluation. Sun Luxuan's strength is also among the top in the entire Blizzard City, but only Zhu Zheng knows how strong he is. Being able to be commented by him personally shows that Zhang Yi is qualified enough to be noticed by Sun Luxuan. How to say? Zhu Zheng asked. Sun Luxuan looked at Zhang Yi's resolute and calm profile on the screen with a smile. It's a feeling. He's so calm, it even gives people a sense of confidence. It can't even be called self-confidence anymore, but the feeling of taking your victory for granted. If it weren't for a real strong man who had completely grasped the situation, it would be impossible for him to have such an expression. Zhu Zheng and Lan Xincheng stared carefully at Zhang Yi's expressionless face on the screen after hearing the words. Sure enough, Zhang Yi in the video is calm and indifferent, like a game player playing a man machine. Half of Tu Yunli's face was hidden under the high collar. Although he didn't speak, he looked at Zhang Yi more. Interesting. A smile appeared on the corner of Zhu Zheng's mouth, and he raised his legs, intending to enjoy this wonderful battle quietly. I knew that this kid is not as simple as Bailey Changqing said. On the martial arts arena, Zhang Yi's counterattack was still intensive and fierce. His energy was not fully focused on the battlefield. This is not arrogance. It's because he is very clear about his own strength and Wu Di's strength. If he really shot with all his strength, he could even kill Wu Di instantly. After all, within this limited space, Wu Di, who is not good at running, can't dodge his killer move with a huge attack range. But he can't do that, because he had already noticed that Wu Di came to him for a duel, which would definitely attract the attention of many people, which may include the high-level Blizzard City. If his performance is too impressive, he may be forcibly recruited to Blizzard City. After all, for the district, it is impossible to allow such a powerful existence outside the headquarters of the district. He wants to win, but he wants to win so that no one will doubt his strength. After thinking about these things, Zhang Yi gradually had a layer of care in his heart. He knew how he was going to fight Wu Di. The thought in his heart was only for a moment, and the bullets in his hand had already been fired dozens of times at high speed. Although they were all blocked by Wu Di's aperture, Zhang Yi quickly switched to bullets, and his attacks didn't even pause. Zhu Zheng nodded. This style of play is indeed interesting. He has a lot of space, and can store a lot of weapons and ammunition. In other words, he alone is a huge arsenal. Fighting a war of attrition is also a very good choice. No matter how powerful an alien is, there will be a moment when his abilities are exhausted. But Zhang Yi's ammunition does not know how much. If Wu Di continues to consume like this with Zhang Yi, he must be the one who loses in the end. It looks like you want to consume me to death. Wu Di also realized Zhang Yi's plan. If he really lost like that, he would lose all face. The core members of the dignified Black Robe team were actually defeated with guns. If he said it, he would become the laughing stock of the entire Blizzard City. Sorry, but all this is within my expectations. Wu Di touched the ground with both feet and started to retreat quickly. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. He and Wu Di are both long-range offensive combat types, but he has the killer weapon in the middle distance. Whether it is Camu or the surprise attack launched by using the double door. However, it is impossible for him to use Shenwei here. If the opponent is prepared for the double door, it is difficult to attack suddenly. So what's the point of Wu Di's long distance? Zhang Yi was not in a hurry. He was silently waiting for Wu Di's attack. On the other hand, he continued to shoot Wu Di with a pistol. At this time, he really had some urge to replace the bullets with holy silver bullets. Then the sudden attack will make Wu Di unprepared, thus breaking through his body protection halo. However, that would expose the existence of the holy silver bullet. Secondly, the holy silver bullets are very effective in breaking demons, but their armor-piercing ability is not as good as that of ordinary armor-piercing bullets, and they cannot penetrate Wu Di's black training suit and cause him damage. It doesn't make much sense. With the ability of the training suit, Wu Di's speed became very fast, and he quickly opened the distance of 800 meters between him and Zhang Yi. This distance is the limit of your space shuttle. Wu Di stopped there, and the scene of Zhang Yi fighting Yuan Kang guy with space shuttle emerged in his mind. According to his calculations, Zhang Yi's original shuttle distance was only 300 meters. Even if his strength is stronger at this time, a radius of 800 meters is enough. For today's battle, he has prepared for a long time, including the means of defeating Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, come try my trick. If you can take it, I will admit that your strength is superior to mine. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580. After leaving Zhang Yi at a distance of 800 meters, Woody opened his hands towards Zhang Yi, and with a soft reprimand, countless tiny light spots suddenly appeared from his body. There were so many of them, it was as if countless rainbow bubbles had been blown up, densely packed, and soon soared into the air, almost completely covering the entire area of the martial arts field. After a while, they flew around Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi stared at them cautiously, but they didn't explode immediately. Like a big ball of foam, a spherical cloud with a radius of 800 meters formed around Zhang Yi. Woody looked at Zhang Yi and murmured, I prepared this move specially for you. Its name is Floating Bubble. It consists of 30 miniature floating cannons, and the explosion lasts for 2 minutes. Now, even if you use that weird space ability, you won't be able to defend it. Although the floating cannon is turned into tiny particles, its lethality is also powerful enough. Woody didn't intend to kill Zhang Yi. As long as Zhang Yi could be beaten to shame, he would win. Because of this trick, he can continue to use it 3 times. Burst. Woody didn't talk nonsense, and after the bubble cloud formed, he immediately began to detonate those miniature floating cannons gradually. 30 floating cannon light particles exploded gradually, covering a range of 800 meters. Even if Zhang Yi wanted to escape, he couldn't escape. Even if you want to hide in a different space, you can escape for at most 1 minute. In other words, Zhang Yi could hardly avoid this trick. Exclamation mark. The explosion at the scene lit up with bright lights and shadows, like countless soap bubbles bursting in the sun. Everyone stared at the scene on the field, hoping to know how Zhang Yi would deal with such a move. Even in the eyes of Deng Shentang and Bailey Changqing, this kind of trick is difficult to dodge, and they can only resist with strong defensive ability. But Zhang Yi, he is not a stranger of the reinforcement system, and he does not have that kind of terrifying defensive ability. Although the training suit can protect his body, it is also directly judged that he will lose the game based on the degree of his injury. Even Uncle Yu and Liang Yu, who had the most confidence in Zhang Yi, couldn't help but change their faces when they saw Woody's move. This trick was completely created for Zhang Yi. Only now did they understand why Zhang Yi was so strict about his own information, and even the people around him couldn't know the whole picture. Because once your abilities are known to others, your weaknesses will also be infinitely magnified in the eyes of your opponents. Even high-level Delta aliens will be used by the opponent to target their weaknesses, causing major damage. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the martial arts arena. They all wanted to see if Zhang Yi could resist this kind of move that was designed to target his abilities. The explosion of floating bubbles that lasted for 3 minutes caused a dazzling visual effect and also hindered everyone's ability to observe the pictures in the field. But 3 minutes later, what Woody wanted to hear was broadcast by the martial arts field system. The martial arts performance is over. Zhang Yi is defeated. The voice did not appear. After the light and shadow ended, Zhang Yi stood there intact. His expression was very calm, as if nothing had happened. Everyone was shocked by this scene. They had thought that Zhang Yi could take this move, but it was absolutely unimaginable that Zhang Yi could take it so perfectly that he didn't suffer the slightest harm. Surprise flashed in Deng Shentang's eyes for the first time. Interesting, really interesting. From the looks of it, he's stronger than what's recorded in the region's intelligence. In the other box, ZHU Zheng was also puzzled. How did this kid do it? His ability should not have such a perfect defensive ability. But Sun Luxuan behind him pushed his glasses and said with a smile, I can probably see what's going on. Tu Yunli also nodded secretly. It's indeed a very interesting defensive skill. This guy, he's maximumed out his defensive skills. Seeing that ZHU Zheng and Lan Xincheng were puzzled, Sun Luxuan explained to them. Just when the explosion happened, he opened up a perfect defensive wall. It absorbs all attacks from all directions. Upon hearing this, Zhu Zeng said, Yang Wuchang, let's analyze the battle scene just now. This martial arts arena is used for fighting against aliens. Through the training uniforms and the monitoring system in the martial arts arena, it is possible to perfectly obtain the information on the abilities used by aliens. Of course, this can also help humans improve their weaknesses. As soon as Zhu Zeng opened his mouth, there was a reply immediately, and it was presented in the form of a three-dimensional image. In the picture, when the 30 floating light particles began to explode gradually, Zhang Yi suddenly opened a spherical film barrier around his body. It was a door to another dimension. It is different from the dimensional gate he used before. This time the space door is spherical. It completely wrapped him up. There was some shock in Zhu Zeng's eyes. Isn't this an absolute defense? Sun Luxuan smiled and said, there is no absolute defense in this world. If there is, it's just that the offensive power is not strong enough. Lan Xincheng frowned slightly and said strangely, but from the beginning to the end, he used various means to defend. Isn't this kind of person too stubborn? If he blindly defends, how should he attack? Everyone is very curious about this question. But when Zhang Yi appeared in the martial arts arena intact, everyone realized that Zhang Yi was at least invincible. A stranger with absolute defense, innately undefeated. Zhang Yi looked at Wu Di calmly. From Wu Di's eyes, he could see the strong shock and unwillingness. Wu Di gritted his teeth and said in disbelief, how is it possible? How could you be able to block my attack? I have already thoroughly studied your abilities. You can't stop this trick at all. Even if the power of my floating light particles is greatly weakened, it won't be able to hurt you. He felt a little flustered in his heart, so he opened his arms again, and floating bubbles shot up into the sky. He wanted to try again. Stop doing useless work. Zhang Yi looked at Wu Di coldly. He had to admit that, if it was a month ago, he would have been very embarrassed when he encountered this trick. But after absorbing the origin of Yuan Kangai, his skills have also evolved, which is an upgrade of the subtle manipulation of abilities. Zhang Yi's body didn't move, and a spherical dimensional wall immediately appeared around his body, wrapping him tightly. Now he is separated from the real world by an entire different dimension. Unless it is an attack whose energy limit exceeds the range of his dimensional gate, nothing can attack him through this defense. This move can be called his absolute defense, and it is a perfect enchantment. End of Two Realms. Chapter 581 Getting Attention. Wu Di's attack struck again, but this level of attack could not cause any damage to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi knew that his battle must be watched. Therefore, he cannot fight for too long to avoid exposing his strength. However, he also doesn't know how to use his divine power and the newly realized ultimate move. After all, he had no intention of killing Wu Di, so he just raised his pistol calmly, aimed at Wu Di and shot. At this time, Wu Di was still in shock, facing Zhang Yi's shooting. He subconsciously used the ability of the aperture to resist. But this time, the pitch black bullet directly pierced through his aperture defense and landed on him. What? Wu Di's body was in pain. His expression was distorted, and he knelt down on the ground clutching his chest in pain. At this time, everyone's ears heard the sound of the broadcast from the martial arts field. The martial arts performance is over. Wu Di, lose. The sudden end of the battle did not surprise anyone, because the battle between high-level aliens is like this, and the outcome is decided in an instant. A brief absence, a slight exposure of weakness, will decide the outcome of life or death in an instant. Wu Di couldn't believe his ears. This bullet. He looked at the ground, where a pitch black bullet lay quietly. It was this bullet that penetrated his defensive aperture just now and landed on his training suit. Because of the protection of the training suit, he was not penetrated, but the system of the martial arts field has given him a defeat judgment based on the degree of damage. Start the origin bomb. How do you have such a thing? Wu Di couldn't believe it and shouted at Zhang Yi in the distance. It's just that the distance between the two of them was too far, and Zhang Yi didn't hear what he was shouting. Zhang Yi just smiled lightly. The winner and loser are already divided, so this battle is over. After speaking, he turned around and walked away. But this scene was clearly seen by everyone. Deng Shentang looked at the back of Zhang Yi leaving, and there was light in his eyes. This guy's really smart. Even Liu Hongli and Bai Chunai behind him couldn't help but look sideways. First ordinary bullets were used to make Woody careless, and then the ordinary bullets were mixed with original bullets. Such an attack is indeed very easy for people to make mistakes. It's just that, in the final analysis, Woody's combat experience is too shallow. In Lio Honglo's words, he looked down upon Woody. He folded his arms and said with a faint smile, "If we were veterans like us, we would never make such a mistake. And we would never give Zhang Yi the chance to shoot." The soft-looking Beichunai next to him smiled lightly and said, "But, he is indeed a person with great fighting talent, isn't he? Knowing how to use his strengths and avoid his weaknesses is quite rare." Deng Shentang ignored the words of the two subordinates behind him. He looked at Zhang Yi with admiration in his eyes. Then he thought to himself, the establishment of the investigation team is fixed, and the number of people cannot be increased at will. This Zhang Yi is already qualified to become an official member of the Shanshan squad. But, how about kicking Liu Yinghao from the official team? His strength has already lagged a bit. In the box, where Zhu Zheng was, facing Zhang Yi's victory, everyone's eyes were a little hot. Being able to defeat Woody shows that Zhang Yi has the strength of an elite member of the investigation team. After all, Woody's strength in the Black Robe investigation team is also high. It seems that our information about Zhang Yi is indeed wrong. Zhu Zheng frowned slightly. Is it because Zhang Yi did it well, or did Bailey Changqing hide something when he reported it to him? No, not really. Zhang Yi's ability Evergreen has been truthfully reported, and he is indeed a stranger who is good at defense. From the perspective of attack, it is more about using the mind than having a powerful attack attribute ability. It can only show that this person's ability is not very aggressive, but he is too good at fighting. However, why does he have the origin bomb? As Zhu Zheng spoke, he looked at the secretary Lan Xincheng next to him. The origin bullet is a secret of the Hua Kingdom. It is jointly developed by the technical departments of the 6 regions. Both the material and the production process are absolutely confidential. Even in Blizzard City, only a few people such as Yunyan, the investigation team, and the guards around the high-level headquarters have this thing. Because the materials used are too scarce, ordinary people have no chance to use them. No wonder Zhu Zheng, who was sensitive, Lan Xincheng hurriedly reported. Perhaps he got a few of them by chance when the Black Robe team was performing missions in Xianhai City. I will go to Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing to confirm. Zhu Zheng nodded. If that's the case, that's fine. Just throw a few out and let others use it. This Zhang Yi can be considered, and it can be used in the future. Lan Xincheng saw Zhu Zheng's admiration for Zhang Yi and couldn't help asking, "Commander, do you want to transfer him to Blizzard City? Have someone train him, and then consider incorporating him into Yan'an's army, or assigning him to someone else?" Investigation team. Zhu Zheng thought about it, but waved his hand. "I don't need it for the time being. He is the leader of the aliens in Xianhai City after all. Today Xianhai City is in ruins, and its combat power has dropped sharply. If he is transferred again, Heishi City will not be peaceful in the future." Upon hearing this, Lan Xincheng said, "The commander-in-chief is thinking about it." Lan Xincheng has followed Zhu Zheng for many years and knows his temper well. The subtext of these words is that, although he admires Zhang Yi somewhat, he is not to the point of liking him yet. After all, the strength shown by Zhang Yi is at the upper middle level among the investigation team and Yan'an troops. Zhang Yi left the martial arts arena and came to the second floor. Bailey Changqing looked at Zhang Yi. There was no surprise in his eyes. "Thank you for your mercy," Zhang Yi said nonchalantly. "That's the way it is." A mere Woody was never considered by Zhang Yi. "As for the weapons, what do you say?" Bailey Changqing smiled and said, "If you are so anxious, I can take you there to get it later. The survey team's weapon depot is in the combat center, not very far from here." Zhang Yi nodded. "Alright then. I'll go change my clothes first." When it comes to the training clothes on his body, Zhang Yi really can't put it down. Although the protective suit he wore before was very defensive and equipped with many modern technological equipment, it was definitely not as powerful as this black tights. Not only is it strong in defense, but the key is that it can improve people's basic physical fitness, which is terrifying. Zhang Yi really wanted to get a set, and it would be perfect if he wore it as a lining and matched it with a combat uniform. But now, he can only think about it because it is impossible for Evergreen to give him a set of such high-tech equipment. Fortunately, he has Liu Karen. Zhang Yi looked at Liu Karen who was beside him, and Liu Karen nodded towards him with a confident light in his eyes. There was a smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. This good thing, he seems to be getting it. Chapter 582 Sir, please stay away. Zhang Yi came to the locker room and changed out of his training clothes. That texture still made him feel fond, but it was impossible for him to take it away from here. Fortunately, there is Liu Karen, a mechanical master, and she will re-engrave this material in the future and help him build a set. Zhang Yi changed his clothes and came out of the locker room. Wu Di is already outside. Annoyance could be seen on his face, but towards Zhang Yi, the original hostility was no longer there. After the fight, the obsession in my heart was finally let go. He also understood that Zhang Yi didn't even make a full shot now, so if he couldn't beat him, he would have no chance in the future. I can only say that I'm a little bit dissatisfied. When Zhang Yi came out, he heard him saying to Bailey Changqing, I thought I was well prepared this time, and I would have a chance to win against him. Bailey Changqing comforted him, you have joined the investigation team for too short a time. What you lack is actual combat experience. You just need to practice more in the future. Zhang Yi came out, you two, are you finished chatting? If you finished chatting, please take me to get my spoils. Bailey Changqing beckoned not far away and saw Meng Xiaoyu, a member of the investigation team, walking over carrying a black box. She handed the box to Zhang Yi. This is what you want. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up, and he wanted to open it to take a look at his new weapon. But Bailey Changqing stretched out his hand to hold the box and gave him a wink. Let's look at it when we go back. Although the standard Edmund metal weapon is not the top secret of Blizzard City, ordinary soldiers are not qualified to use it. Bailey Changqing gave one to Zhang Yi, which is not very good in principle, but the temporary rules of Blizzard City did not specify this point in detail. Therefore, Zhang Yi can use it, but there is no need to be too ostentatious. After all, this is a battle center, and it is not a good thing to be discussed by interested people. Zhang Yi understood, reached out and put the weapon box into the different space. There are other familiar faces of the Black Robe team around. Obviously, they all watched the battle between the two of them, and they looked at Zhang Yi with more and more admiration at this time. In terms of combat effectiveness, Wu Di is currently second only to Evergreen and their team. Zhang Yi was able to easily defeat him while retaining his strength, which showed his strength and clear fighting mind. Bailey Changqing smiled and put one arm around Zhang Yi's shoulder and the other around Wu Di's shoulder. After this fight today, the past grievances will be wiped out. I hope you can be friends in the future. Friend? This word made Zhang Yi's mouth reveal a meaningful smile. He has very high standards for choosing friends, but he still wants to give Bailey Changqing face. Anyway, he will not lose a piece of meat by saying some beautiful words. Zhang Yi smiled and stretched out his right hand to Wu Di. We will take care of each other in the future. Wu Di and Zhang Yi themselves have no personal grievances. After the fight, he also felt a gap between himself and Zhang Yi. This kind of person is arrogant, but admires the strong. Zhang Yi took the initiative to reach out to him again, and he reached out and shook Zhang Yi with some embarrassment. Oh. After this game, it was getting late. Blizzard City has a curfew, which naturally has no effect on Bailey Changqing and others. But Zhang Yi just arrived here, and he didn't want to break the rules and let people use this as an excuse to target him. He said, let's go back to rest first. There will be a meeting tomorrow. Bailey Changqing nodded. Well, let's get together again when you have time after your assembly. Speaking of which, I didn't let you drink good wine today, and I, the local lord, didn't entertain well. Zhang Yi smiled lightly. If you have time then, of course we can have a few drinks together. Zhang Yi took the others out of the combat center without mentioning it. On the side of the martial arts arena, those who watched the battle had their own thoughts. Deng Shentang seems to have the idea of wooing Zhang Yi into his subordinates. But today he has already met Zhang Yi, and if he went to look for Zhang Yi at this time, he felt a little rushed, which was not his style. He has never even heard of my name Deng Shentang. No wonder. After all, he came from a small place. After thinking about it for a while, Deng Shentang turned his head to Bai Chunayu and said, "Go find Zhang Yi later and ask him to come to my house for a meeting after the meeting." Bai Chunayu is cautious in doing things, not as reckless as Liu Hongli. It would be best to let him go to Zhang Yi. By the way, don't forget to take him to the standings to have a look at that time. Let him know who I am, Deng Shentang. The hard currency in Blizzard is personal points. The easiest and quickest way to get points is actually to go out and perform tasks. Therefore, the ranking of the points list also marks the strength of the individual. Deng Shentang's points have always been the first in the list. He had to let Zhang Yi know his strength so that he would willingly join his team. After all, Zhang Yi seemed closer to the members of the Black Robe team at this time. If you are accidentally fooled by Bailey Changking and join the Black Robe team, it will be a waste of talent. With a smile on Bai Chunai's face all the time, he nodded, "Yes, Captain." After speaking, he turned around and left the room to find Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi left the combat center with several members of the team, preparing to return to the apartment building. Having just obtained a weapon, Zhang Yi couldn't help but want to take a good look at it. In this way, there is no need to share Longming with Liang Yu. It's just that I don't know which weapon is better, his horizontal knife for Longming's, which is also made of Edmund metal. In addition, he also had some worries in his heart. He hoped that he would not draw too much attention from the Blizzard City executives when he fought Woody. At that time, people will be jealous of his strength, and it would be bad to force him to stay in Blizzard City. Just after leaving the combat center, I suddenly heard a soft voice calling Zhang Yi's name from behind. "Mr. Zhang Yi, please stay still." Zhang Yi and the others subconsciously turned around when they heard this voice. I saw a soft-faced man standing on the steps, wearing a silver-white combat uniform, squinting his eyes, and with shoulder-length hair. Zhang Yi has never seen this person, but the characters who can appear here must have unusual identities. "Who is your excellency?" "My name is Bai Qiuyu, and I belong to the Shanshan team." Bai Qiuyu walked down the steps slowly while talking, and came to Zhang Yi. He smiled and said, "Just now I saw the battle between Mr. Zhang Yi and Woody from the Black Robe team. Mr. Zhang Yi's fighting thinking is very ingenious, and his abilities are also very interesting. God team?" The gorgeous figure of Deng Shentang suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's mind. "Is this trying to win me over?" Chapter 583. Chun Yu didn't play charades with Zhang Yi either. He said bluntly, "After you all participate in the rally, our captain hopes that you can go and meet him. Because you people from outside the city don't know much about the situation in Blizzard City, you may be deceived by others accidentally and go to places you shouldn't go." Chun Yu said with a smile, "If my prediction is correct, Bailey Changking of the Black Robe team has recruited you to join their team, right?" Zhang Yi said in his heart, "Bailey Changking doesn't have the guts. If I go, his captain will be lost." But Chun Yu felt that she had guessed right. His smile grew stronger. After the former captain Bian Junwu died in the battle, the strength of the Black Robe team has dropped to the bottom of the 6 major investigation teams. It may even be cancelled in the future. So I hope you will be more cautious and don't be fooled by others casually. When Zhang Yi heard that Deng Shentang wanted to invite him to chat, he probably wanted to invite him to join their team. It's a pity that Zhang Yi has no plans to join Blizzard City. Just reach out and don't hit the smiling person. According to Bailey Changking, this Deng Shentang's status in Blizzard City is still higher than that of Bian Junwu. Then Zhang Yi would naturally not offend him. So Zhang Yi said, "After the rally is over, I will pay a visit to Mr. Deng Shentang." Chun Yu's eyes slightly opened, revealing a satisfied smile. "Then, I will come to you when the time comes, so that you can have a good understanding of the history of my celestial squad and our strength." After speaking, Chun Yu turned around and returned to the combat center. The people next to him looked at Zhang Yi. Fatty Zhu asked worriedly, "Boss, you are being targeted now." "Hey, there is really no way. You are like a dazzling diamond, and you can't hide your own light." Zhang Yi said lightly, "With my strength, it is inevitable to be noticed by them." Even before absorbing Yuan Khan Gai's origin, Zhang Yi's performance was enough to attract Bian Junwu's attention. So this thing is inevitable. People being too good is also a kind of trouble. However, if I don't want to join Blizzard City, I think they won't be able to make things difficult for them. Both Byung Junwoo and Bailey Changking mentioned this to him. The investigation team and Yan'an troops have very high requirements for loyalty. Therefore, the process of absorbing aliens from the outside world is very strict. Not only does it need to be strong, but it also needs to consider aspects such as background and character. As for the forced recruitment, unless you are someone with outstanding abilities, the Blizzard City executives will have to recruit you, even if they are shameless. For example, after Zhang Yi fully exposed his strength, he would probably face this situation. But now he only showed the strength of elite investigators. Looking at Blizzard City, although there are not many combat powers of this level, there are not too few of the 6 major investigation teams and Yan'an troops. After hearing what Zhang Yi said, everyone was relieved. Because according to what they heard before, the rules in this Blizzard City are very complicated, and the survival data are determined according to the contribution of each person. When Zhang Yi comes to Blizzard City, they will inevitably follow him. At that time, there will be too many restrictions. How can they be comfortable in Xianhe City? As for Lu Karen, he kept his eyes on the box in Zhang Yi's hand. Zhang Yi naturally knew what she was thinking, and said with a smile, let's go back quickly. He also wanted to take a look at this newly arrived weapon. Everyone returned to the apartment. The waitress who received them before could not help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw that they had returned safely. She frowned slightly, obviously a little unhappy in her heart. But he didn't dare to show it here, but the professional smile on his face became a little colder. Zhang Yi didn't bother to talk to her and returned to the room with everyone. Zhao Hanglian and others were staying in the apartment at this time and did not know about the duel between Zhang Yi and Woody. Everyone came to Zhang Yi's room and looked at the black box in his hand expectantly. Especially Liang Yu and Lu Karen were most curious about the weapon Zhang Yixing got. Zhang Yi didn't hide it. He put the box on the table generously and then stretched out his hand to open it. There was only a kai sound, and after the box was opened, a puff of white smoke filled the air. Zhang Yi frowned and subconsciously wanted to dodge, but Lu Karen understood him well and said, this is a chemical agent used to maintain metals, which can ensure that metal materials will not be corroded. Usually only extremely precious treasures and weapons will use it for maintenance. Only then did Zhang Yi feel relieved. After the smoke dissipated, the shape of the horizontal knife inside was revealed. Everyone involuntarily leaned over and carefully looked at the appearance of this weapon. At first glance, you can feel the extraordinariness of this knife. Its shape is full of cyberpunk style. Under the light, the blade is glowing with a layer of faint blue, and the handle is wrapped in black leather. This knife is not long. The blade and the handle are only a little over 1 meter, about 1.2 meters. Compared with the long knife Looming used by Liang Yu, its length is relatively short. The blade is straight and can be used for piercing and chopping. It is not the kind of weapon that can be opened and closed, but it is more suitable for close combat and parrying. The advantage lies in short distance response and easy portability. Good knife. Liang Yu recognized it at a glance. This is similar to Tang Hangdao's standard. Although it is not an ancient style, it is also a good object for close combat. Zhang Yi raised the horizontal knife. Although he is not an expert in knife use, he can still feel the sharpness of the blade, which is definitely not inferior to Looming. Lu Karen couldn't wait to say, brother Zhang Yi, can you let me have a look? Zhang Yi smiled lightly, take it and see it. In the last days, cold weapons only have the greatest effect on aliens of the reinforcement system. After all, this is not ancient times, and all kinds of thermal weapons are very easy to use. Zhang Yi asked for it as a prize, but it was just to add a self-defense weapon, and most of the time he would not use it. Because of this, Bailey Changking didn't look too distressed when he gave him the knife. Of course, this is not to say that it is not precious, but for aliens above the level of Zhang Yi, it is not as easy to use as supernatural powers most of the time except for aliens who are good at melee combat with weapons. Lu Karen reached out to take the horizontal knife. It was not heavy, only about 5 or 6 katas, but it was extremely sharp. It is just suitable for people like Zhang Yi whose own strength is not particularly huge. Lu Karen touched the blade with both hands, and the skill of magic machine manipulation, was activated immediately, and immediately began to analyze the overall material structure. Chapter 584 The Holy Trial. Luke Karen analyzed and completed the horizontal knife made of Edmund metal. Zhang Yi saw her frowning deeply, with a serious look on her face, and couldn't help asking, how can this kind of metal be reproduced? Everyone also looked forward to landing Karen with great hope. If you can get this kind of weapon made of the hardest metal today, everyone hopes to have one. Even a person who has no strength to restrain a chicken can use it for self-defense. After all, in the last days, who can not love magic weapons? However, Luke Karen said to everyone, I have already completed the analysis. The forging of this adamantium metal is very complicated. In addition to the extremely rare materials used, the forging process is also extremely cumbersome. As far as I'm concerned, it is true that I can use the ability of God machine manipulation to spend a certain amount of time to smelt admin metal, but how to shape it into a weapon, but I have to think about it slowly. When everyone heard these words, they didn't look disappointed, but laughed instead. It's supposed to be like this. If you can easily crack all the top cold weapon materials in the region and refine the same weapons, wouldn't they all have to wipe their necks? Both Zhang Yi and Liang Yu had their own weapons, and among the rest of the crowd, only Uncle Yu was a close combat alien who had higher requirements for weapons. So everyone is not eager for this magical Edmund metal equipment. Zhang Yi comforted Luke Karen, you don't need to worry about this matter, just follow the steps as planned. Haste makes waste, especially for products in these high-tech fields. You must have enough patience to make them. If this thing was so easy to reproduce, it would have been popular among the entire Blizzard City troops by now. Encouraged by Zhang Yi, Luke Karen nodded vigorously. I will definitely study the making process of it, and that black suit, as soon as possible. Liang Yu took the knife, and admired it carefully for a while. As a warrior, she has a special love for weapons, especially famous weapons. She can also use the horizontal knife. But what she is most happy about at this time is that Zhang Yi has his own weapon, and she won't always use her looming in the future. In fact, Zhang Yi would give looming to her, unless it was a big battle. At other times, such as when Zhang Yi practiced the sword by himself, he also liked to use looming. After all, every man can't refuse the charm of the sword. Zhang Yi, please give this knife a name. A precious knife must have its name, in order to match its owner. Liang Yu said to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi retracted the horizontal knife without putting it into the scabbard. Because his different space is the best scabbard, and not putting it in the scabbard is also for the convenience of taking it out to meet the enemy at any time. Looking at the treasured sword in his hand, that was shining with a faint blue cold light, Zhang Yi thought for a while and said, then call it holy judgment. The divine judgment. The nature of the judgment is human life. Cutting people is like cutting paper. This is the meaning given to it by Zhang Yi. After giving the knife a name, Zhang Yi asked everyone to go back to their rooms to rest, waiting for tomorrow's gathering of aliens in the Jiangnan region. Operation Center. After Zhu Zheng finished watching the battle, he admired Zhang Yi in his heart, but he also missed Bailey Changqing's comments to him, frowned slightly, and wondered whether he could use this shield in a suitable position. That's right, not swords and guns, but shields. Zhang Yi gave him the impression that he is extremely good at defense, and after making sure that he is not in danger, he will fight back. This kind of person may be boring, but if placed in the right position, it will often produce unexpected results. At this time, the secretary Lan Xincheng came from outside and leaned up to him to whisper a few words. Zhu Zheng raised his head and said lightly in a majestic tone, let him in. Lan Xincheng took the order to go down, and after a while, he brought a person over. That person was none other than Wu Di, who had fought fiercely with Zhang Yi before. Wu Di came not far from Zhu Zheng, straightened his back, and gave a respectful military salute. Commander, your subordinates are not strong enough to defeat Zhang Yi. Please punish me. It turned out that the reason why Wu Di appeared in the cipher bar by such a coincidence and seemingly recklessly wanted to single out Zhang Yi was not a coincidence at all. He did this under Zhu Zheng's order. Since the end of the Xianhai City battle last time, Zhu Zheng has taken to the name Zhang Yi. No matter how Bailey Changqing reports, it can't hide a fact. That is, in the final battle, it was indeed Zhang Yi who blocked the alien Yuan Khan guy who had just been promoted to the rank of Epsilon with his own strength. Although it was just a brief mention, it fell into ZHU Zheng's ears, but he couldn't let him ignore it easily. He knows better than anyone what it means to be an alien at the Epsilon level. Even though there are so many masters in Blizzard City nowadays, none of them has truly reached the world recognized Epsilon level. Even masters such as Deng Shentang and Bian Junwu are still far behind. Just that one line is the difference between cloud and mud. Even so, Zhang Yi was able to block Yuan Khan guy's attack many times. What does this mean? It goes without saying. So ZHU Zheng already had a plan in mind. Zhang Yi will definitely come to this rally, and this battle has already been arranged by him. It's just, the result of this battle made him a little disappointed. It turns out that Zhang Yi is really only good at defense, but his attack methods are relatively poor. That's why ZHU Zheng lost interest in Zhang Yi later, and only regarded him as a pawn with special defensive ability that could be used at special moments. ZHU Zheng turned his head and glanced at Wu Di. The defeated Wu Di was obviously ashamed in front of ZHU Zheng. He lowered his head and dared not look into ZHU Zheng's eyes. ZHU Zheng smiled kindly and said, what's there to complain about? It's only been 3 months since you awakened your powers and joined the Black Robe team. Wu Di, you have great potential. The reason why you lost to Zhang Yi was only because of your lack of combat experience. Having said that, ZHU Zheng's face became a little serious. Now that the Frontier Army is dead, the combat power of the Black Robe team is also seriously damaged. You need to grow up as soon as possible. In the future, you and Bailey Changqing will carry the team's banner together. Wu Di tightly clenched his fists, thinking of the Bian Junwu whom he regarded as his father. He was a little sad, but also filled with great pride in his heart. That's right, now he must carry the banner of the investigation team. Without Bian Junwu to rely on, then he will become everyone's rely on. He is still young, and his abilities still have unlimited room for growth. So a temporary victory or defeat proves nothing. Wu Di raised his neck and said loudly, yes, Commander. I will definitely not let you down. Chapter 585 The Situation of Xianhe City. Early the next morning, everyone from outside the city was notified, requiring them to arrive at the Xianchang Conference Center in the center of Blizzard City before 9:30 in the morning. According to the previous notice, the official start time of the rally is 10 o'clock, so it is reasonable to ask them to arrive half an hour earlier. After Zhang Yi got up, his eyes were a little blurred. In fact, he didn't sleep very well last night. After all, it is difficult to sleep peacefully in a strange city and a strange room. Not to mention that the battle last night caused countless thoughts in his mind, so he barely fell asleep until the middle of the night. After waking up in the morning, a group of waiters in the same uniform came to the apartment pushing a dining cart. Deliver food to them room by room. I don't know if it was an appointment, but the leaders of the other 3 forces and Zhang Yi's team members all came to his room to have dinner together. Zhang Yi's room is not very big. There is not even a place to sit when there are too many people. So everyone sat on the floor or on the bed, eating and discussing today's rally. As for the topic discussed, it is just a cliché, so I will mention it again at this time. Zhang Yi dealt with them casually, but focused on the precautions for coming here. Listen. This is Blizzard City. Although we dominate Xianhe City, our power is still too small compared to the regional headquarters. Not to mention that now, there are alien forces gathered here in the 12 cities of the outer city, and if they are not careful, they will shoot their guns and go off. So I don't want any of you to be in conflict with someone else. Speaking of this, Zhang Yi specifically emphasized, if there is really something, bear with it for now. We will solve it slowly, after leaving Blizzard City. Otherwise, in the city, even if someone points at your nose and scolds your mother, you are not allowed to fight with them. Zhao Hanglian frowned slightly when she heard the words. She naturally knew that this was very difficult. After all, when there are too many people, conflicts will easily break out. Especially with the current situation in Xianhe City, it is easier to be treated as a soft specimen. But she still nodded. Zhang Yi, now that we have decided to take you as the leader, we will definitely listen to you. Crossing Shine smiled. Me too. Only Chen Jingwen frowned deeply, with a look of deep worry on his face. Zhang Yi saw that something was wrong with him, so he asked lightly, "Why, Chen Jingwen, do you have any different opinions?" Chen Jingwen was taken aback, and hurriedly smiled and said, "How is it possible? I think what you said is very reasonable. It's just I'm afraid that, if we come to Blizzard City this time, even if we want to be safe, it may not be peaceful." Everyone couldn't help but look sideways when they heard the words. Chen Jingwen's identity is quite special. He himself is from the high-level people in the Jiangnan area. Although based on the time of the founding of Huaguo, it is difficult to have a family that has gone through multiple generations. But his parents were quite powerful and circled in Jiangnan at the beginning. Even now, he still has many relatives and friends in Blizzard City. Even if you can't count on it, you can still get some information that ordinary people don't understand. Zhang Yi said, "Chen Jingwen, unless you enter Blizzard City, if you stay in Xianhai City for a day, we are still a community of interests. If you have any news, you should share it." Chen Jingwen shook his head. "I'm not interested in Blizzard City. I'd rather have a chicken head than an oxtail. I understand this truth." He slowly said to everyone, "After I came to Blizzard City yesterday, I got some news, which is not very beneficial to us. The problem of the corpse tide in Xianhai City has actually spread throughout the entire Jiangnan region. Especially the surrounding cities have been affected by the spread of zombies. Nowadays, they almost all know that Xianhai City has experienced the turmoil of the corpse tide, and almost all the major forces have been destroyed, and there are no powerful forces. However, Xianhai City has always been rich, with a large population and abundant resources. When we were strong, they didn't dare to provoke us. But now it's like a fat sheep, and there are always people thinking about taking a bite." Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Xian were immediately angry. They dare. Zhao Ke and the others also showed concern. "It's been so easy to live a peaceful life for a few days. Is war going to break out again?" Only Zhang Yi looked calm, as if he was not surprised at all. "I thought it was a big deal. So this is it?" Zhang Yi's tone was indifferent. Chen Jingwen looked at him in astonishment. "Zhang Yi, how can you not care at all? The law of the jungle is the rule in the last days. What's so strange about this?" Zhang Yi asked with a smile. But, without waiting for Chen Jingwen to refute, Zhang Yi said, "If anyone dares to come over, wouldn't it be good to kill them? This is not a big deal. In the past, several of our forces also resolved it in this way. The one who should come can't escape. Today Xianhai City is indeed too weak in the eyes of the outside world. Coupled with a large amount of resources, it will inevitably make the surrounding cities excited." Ever since that battle was over, Zhang Yi had guessed that there would be such a day in the future, so there was nothing surprising about it. Zhang Yi's attitude is too calm in the eyes of everyone, but there is a kind of self-confidence in strategizing. So everyone felt very at ease, thinking that following Zhang Yi was the right person. But in fact, Zhang Yi thought it was very simple. Anyone who invades Xianhai City, he will fight back. But even if he encounters a force that is strong enough to make him feel troublesome, he can only protect his own territory. As for the other three forces, how to do? If you don't have strong strength, don't occupy too many resources, and don't let go. Greed is fine, but greed without strength will only lead you to perdition. The little friendship between Zhang Yi and them was not enough for him to fight for the three forces. After eating breakfast, everyone took a look at the time, and it was already past 8:30, and they all set off for the venue. After leaving the apartment, I could see alien organizations from other cities rushing towards the venue on the road. All forces, large and small, are based on cities. Although in the past, they may have been in a competitive relationship with each other. But at this time, they all chose to stick together tacitly to show their strength and avoid being looked down upon by organizations in other cities. In a world where the weak prey on the strong, if they are marked as weak, they will definitely usher in cleansing. Among the 12 cities, the team in Xianhai City seemed relatively deserted. Because their number is the smallest, unlike other cities with hundreds of people, and even large teams of hundreds of people. It's not that Zhao Hanglian and others don't want to bring more people, it's that the team is almost exhausted. Even among these soldiers, there are still some members who are not aliens. Looking at the majestic teams in other cities, Crossing Cheyenne felt a little guilty and thought to himself, I hope nothing happens. Chapter 586 The Land of Neon. Zhang Yi and the others came to the center of the venue in Chang Guild Hall, where Wuang was already full of people. The forces between the various cities are also familiar with each other and are communicating. After all, after the end of the world, most of the people who can become the leaders of one side are once powerful people. Among them are mainly military cadres like Chen Jingwen, and some are senior officials from various places. Of course, there are also some people like Zhang Yi and Crossing Cheyenne who rely on tyrannical power to take down one side. Zhang Yi didn't have much communication with the outside world of Cheyenne City, so he didn't go to chat with anyone. He just followed the guidance of the service staff, led Liang Yu, Zhao Ke and others into the venue, and found a place to sit down quietly. This venue is very large, with a stepped structure, which can accommodate 2,000 people for meetings. Zhang Yi and the others sat down in a middle back area, and waited silently for the conference to start. The three forces of Chen Jingwen, Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Cheyenne also settled in the area near Zhang Yi. But they waited for a long time. Until 10:30, they did not see Zhu Zheng appearing at the venue to preside over the meeting. Zhang Yi yawned and leaned lazily on the sofa seat, quite bored. It is difficult to hold meetings in Huaguo on time. It is often considered good if it can be held within an hour of the agreed time. Especially this time, when it comes to the integration of forces in the entire Jiangnan region. Many factors have to be considered. Zhang Yi was used to the process of waiting for meetings when he was at work, so he didn't have any complaints and just chatted with Zhao Ke and Lu Karen there. However, in the venue, some people gradually became restless. Zhang Yi pretended not to hear. It's just that he didn't expect that this meeting would be delayed until the afternoon. And all of this is not because the high-level officials in the Jiangnan region headed by Zhu Zheng deliberately left them alone, but because something went wrong. The time returned to 7 o'clock in the morning. Zhu Zheng got up early, finished his morning exercises, and then had dinner with his wife and children. But he didn't go very well with the meal. An urgent message was sent to him from Tu Yunli of the War Department. Zhu Zheng just took a look through the communication equipment and immediately frowned solemnly. He immediately put down the rice bowl in his hand and said to his wife Li Yunping, "Eat slowly, I have something to go out for a trip." Seeing this, Li Yunping said helplessly, "I have to eat something first, right? Or I'll be hungry again in the morning." But this is not the first time she has seen this situation. After the end of the world, the entire country of China is supported by the 6 major military regions. As the commander-in-chief of the Jiangnan region, Zhu Zheng has a very heavy responsibility, so nothing can be done without him. Li Yunping skillfully took out the lunchbox from under the cabinet, put some food in it, then ran outside and handed it to Zhu Zheng's driver. Standing beside the car door was Zhu Zheng's guard, Sun Luxun. When he saw Li Yunping, he just nodded his head. Li Yunping is not surprised either. Sun Luxun's identity is quite different from that of ordinary guards. He himself is a first-class expert in Blizzard City, and he follows Zhu Zheng's side, only responsible for protecting Zhu Zheng's safety, and does not do other things. Zhu Zheng got into the black bulletproof vehicle, and the vehicle quickly drove towards the combat center. When Zhu Zheng came to the combat center, Tu Yunli had been waiting for him at the door for a long time. Zhu Zheng walked quickly to the door and asked in a solemn tone, "What's going on?" The two walked quickly to the commander's office in the combat center. Tu Yunli followed Zhu Zheng. Shen Shenghu reported, "According to your instructions, I sent people to Linhai to investigate the fact that the forces there did not report to Blizzard City. But when they arrived at Blizzard City, they found that the 3 forces there were all slaughtered." Zhu Zheng's face was a little gloomy. Several people got on the elevator and headed for the commander's office on the top floor. Although the factions in Linhai City are not very strong, they still have thousands of people, adding up to more than different people. Wanting to wipe them all out is beyond the reach of ordinary people. "Have you found out who did it?" Tu Yunli replied. "After our people passed by, we encountered that group of people." His voice deepened. "The ones I sent over were all good fighters from Yan Yan. Although there were only 4 of them, they were definitely not weak in combat power. However, among the 4, 3 of them were killed. Only one named Zhang Yi escaped back. According to him, those people speak Japanese language. As soon as these words came out, Zhu Zheng's eyes immediately became sharper, and he turned his head abruptly. You mean, they are from the Neon country? Sun Luxun, the guard behind him, pushed the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, and a cold killing intent flashed through his long and narrow eyes. It was an emotion ingrained in his bones. What's more, today, the world is in chaos, and the people of the Neon Kingdom have once again set foot on the territory of the Hua Kingdom, slaughtering the alien forces in Linhai City, and beheading Yan Yunwei in the Jiangnan region. This behavior is equivalent to declaring war. Zhu Zheng's face was so gloomy and terrifying that even Sun Luxun and Tu Yunli felt palpitations. Although this old general does not have any supernatural powers, the power in his hands can completely clean the entire archipelago. Once it is confirmed that the other party is really an alien sent by Neon, then the state of war will be escalated. Tu Yunli's voice came from his collar. According to the information obtained so far, their number is not very large, and they are not large-scale troops. Maybe they are just vanguards. Please allow me to lead my troops to destroy them. Zhu Zheng remained silent. He was pondering the stakes in the incident. It is not a big loss for him that an alien organization near the sea is completely wiped out. What is serious is the significance of this incident, which may indicate that the people on the islands have started to think about the territory of Huaguo again. Zhu Zheng didn't pay attention to the mere neon lights. Just one side of the Jiangnan region can completely level that island with the power it possesses. It's just that the nature of the use of extraordinary force is more serious, and Neon has also been implicated in many countries. This is a matter that affects the whole body, so it is not easy to start a war at will. Zhu Zheng thought about it for a moment, but fortunately, the loss is not too serious now. As the commander-in-chief, he will not be impulsive, but choose to make a decision before acting. Where is that Yan'an guard named Zhang Yi? Zhu Zheng looked at Tu Yunli. Tu Yunli replied in a low voice, he has been brought here, and I'm waiting to report the specific situation to you. As soon as the voice fell, the elevator had reached the top floor. Zhu Zheng took a step forward. Then what are you waiting for? The stakes are too high to be trifling with. He had to confirm whether this operation was an outpost for a large-scale Neon attack, or just some Ronin organized their own operations. There are completely different concepts between the two. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587, The Long Wait. When Zhu Zheng came to the office, he saw that Yan Yunwei Zhang Yi, who was wearing a bandage all over his body and breathing weakly. Zhang Yi, tell me exactly what you saw in Linhai City this time. Zhu Zheng asked Zhang Yi to sit down and report the news to him. The situation was urgent, and he didn't have time to comfort her. Zhang Yi swallowed his saliva and told all the results of his investigation in Linhai City. The matter is roughly the same as what Tu Yunli said, but it is more detailed. But what is certain is that the culprit who killed many aliens in Linhai City spoke the Neon language. Zhu Zheng calmly asked, how many of them are there? Zhang Yi replied, we only saw 3. And from the beginning to the end, there was only one person with a knife. His knife was very fast, and he chopped off Zhu Ting's arm. Zhang Yi's face was a little sad. He thought of those comrades in arms, and felt sad. As soon as we fought, we felt that we were not at the same level as the opponent. So the 3 of them desperately held each other down, creating a chance for me to come back. Fortunately, our means of transportation are better than theirs, which saved my life. Zhang Yi clenched his fists suddenly and said loudly to Zhu Zheng, Commander, we must kill all these bastards and avenge the dead comrades. Zhu Zheng clasped his hands to support his chin, and there was no change in expression on his face. He just calmly said to Zhang Yi, don't worry, we will never sit idly by on this matter. These Neon people dare to come to our country's land to act wildly, and their end is only one word: death. What Zhu Zeng said was categorical, as if the god of death had pronounced the fate of those people. He looked at Chen Qi, and his voice became softer. You go back and recuperate first, and leave the rest of the matter to the district to handle. Chen Qi nodded obediently, then limped out of Zhu Zeng's office with a cane, and accompanied by a nurse. Tu Yunla's eyes were fixed on Zhu Zeng, and as long as Zhu Zeng gave an order, he would lead people there, and kill all those neon people in Linhai City. But Zhu Zeng had his own thoughts. The identities of these neon people must be confirmed. First of all, the first thing to do is to inform the Shengjing district, and then contact the senior management of Nehang. The results obtained are nothing more than two kinds. First, the senior management of Neon admits that these are their people, so it means that the all-out war is about to begin. This possibility is the lowest, because with the national strength of Neon, it is impossible to compete with Huaguo. Not to mention Reckless, coming to invade the territory of Huaguo. The most likely one is the second one. The high level of Neon does not admit that those people have any relationship with them at all. That's right, it doesn't matter whether they are an organization that invaded in the name of individuals or aliens who were ordered by the high level of Neon. As long as the high level of Neon does not admit it, it means that the high level of Neon cannot turn against Huaguo for them. In this way, the Jiangnan region can't do too much with those people. A mere team of neon aliens dares to act wildly on the land of my country of China. It's really courting death. Zhu Zeng snorted coldly, then fetched the communicator and began to communicate with the senior management of Shengjing district. After all, when Neon is involved, it is tantamount to foreign affairs. According to the usual practice, Shengjing still has to communicate. Zhu Zeng was delayed by Linhai City's affairs, so he naturally had no way to preside over the meeting. So here in Xianchang Guild Hall, everyone waited from morning to noon, and gradually began to feel a little impatient in their hearts. Although they are in awe of the strength of the Jiangnan region, they are still a powerful side, and it is definitely not happy to be left alone like this. In addition, Zhu is dealing with that matter and needs to discuss it with the higher level officials of Blizzard City, so there are no higher level figures in the venue. Fortunately, the captains of the two investigation teams brought people to maintain order with Yan Yun's troops, so that the venue did not become chaotic. However, the restlessness in the hearts of the different people from the major forces in the 12 cities could not be contained. At noon, Blizzard City provided them with lunch. But because Zhu Zeng didn't know when he would come over, he asked them not to leave the venue, and they also ate boxed lunches. Zhang Yi and others are relatively better. After all, there are a lot of food in Zhang Yi's different space, and the problem of eating is easy to solve. Others ate the simple lunch boxes provided by the canteen in Blizzard City, but they were feasting on fish and meat, and the food was steaming hot and fragrant, which made the surrounding foreign forces feel hot. If Zhang Yi was uncomfortable staying here, the sofa seats in the venue were too hard, and his butt would inevitably hurt after sitting for a long time. After 1 o'clock in the afternoon, no one saw Zhu Zeng and other Blizzard City executives coming. Zhao Hanglian couldn't help complaining. Are they entertaining us? They deliberately left us alone. What's the point? Although Zhang Yi was a little impatient, he didn't show any resentment. He just said indifferently, Big Fist is the best reason. Zhao Hanglian's face turned red, but they are too. Zhang Yi waved his hand, signaling her not to continue talking. It's useless to say more. The situation is stronger than people. There are dozens of alien organizations in 12 cities here. We don't want to be the leader. Someone will not be able to hold back. Zhao Hanglian heard the words and looked around, and sure enough there were whispers in the venue. When you listen carefully, you can find that everyone has begun to feel uneasy about the Jiangnan region's approach this time. There are even some who are aggressive, and the words that come out of their mouths are more unpleasant. Zhao Hanglian frowned, but we've been waiting here? Zhang Yi smiled. Just treat it as if you're in a meeting now. Anyway, even if it's a serious meeting for you, you won't listen to a few words. Zhang Yi is very open-minded. Small meetings are held for important matters, and large meetings are held for unimportant matters. In fact, Zhu Zeng asked them to come this time, just to inform them of Blizzard City's decision, not to discuss anything with them. Therefore, the content of the meeting will not make much difference, whether you listen to it or not. Anyway, people don't need their opinions. At this time, Zhang Yi looked towards the door of the venue, and suddenly saw a familiar figure. It was Bailey Changqing, the captain of the black robe team. His sturdy figure is very recognizable. Just now he was standing at the door, observing the situation inside the venue with sharp eyes. Zhang Yi said in his heart, Blizzard City dares to let so many strangers in, so it has enough confidence to hold them down. It seems that there are powerful troops outside ready to go. Once there is any problem here, they will not hesitate to suppress it. The left and right were also bored in the venue. It was noisy, there were too many people, and the air became turbid. Zhang Yi stood up suddenly and said to the others, I'm going out for a walk. After speaking, he walked to the aisle alone. Zhao Ke hurriedly said, I'm going too. Zhang Yi waved his hand, stopping her and other people who wanted to go out with him. I'll talk to Bailey Changqing, you guys just stay here, and don't move around. There are many people here, fish and dragons are mixed together. It is better not to walk around casually, so as not to inadvertently conflict with someone. After hearing Zhang Yi's words, Zhao Ke sat down obediently. Liang Yu, Uncle Yu, and Fatty Zhu sat on the periphery, and if something really happened, they would be able to protect them immediately. Chapter 588 Duel. Zhang Yi walked out from the back door and immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding guards. But Bailey Changqing saw him, reached out to signal the guards not to be nervous, and then walked over. Zhang Yi. Bailey Changqing greeted with a smile. Zhang Yi smiled and said, do you know what's going on? Bailey Changqing looked around and pulled Zhang Yi aside. Then he said to him, there is a big problem at the top, and the commander-in-chief can't get through it for the time being, because the things over there are more urgent and must be dealt with quickly. So I didn't intentionally leave you guys alone. When there is a result over there, I will naturally come to see you. Zhang Yi nodded clearly. Oh, so that's the case. Can I ask what's going on? Bailey Changqing shook his head. I don't know about this. You have to know that our investigation team is only an armed force, responsible for carrying out orders from high-level officials. But we don't know about other situations. Zhang Yi frowned slightly, but said, but it seems that the Jiangnan region is about to change. Is it not a big deal that strangers from 12 cities gathered in the Jiangnan region? But Zhu Zeng was still delayed by other things, which meant that things over there were even more troublesome. Zhang Yi had a bad feeling in his heart, and he even felt that he would be involved in that matter. Perhaps in the entire Jiangnan region, it is difficult for many forces to be alone. But now, he doesn't know anything, and it's useless to worry. Zhang Yi stretched his waist. In this case, just give us a notice and let us go back and wait. Why make us wait here? Bailey Changqing smiled dryly and said, who says it's not? You wait here, and we have to maintain order nearby. It's just that I heard that the incident happened so urgently that the top management went to a meeting to discuss countermeasures. Therefore, there is no time to take care of this. This doesn't sound like good news. I'm already getting a little scared. Zhang Yi smiled. Bailey Changqing sighed, his eyes full of worry. Who said no? If something major happened, the members of the investigation team, would definitely rush to the front line. His position as captain has not been secured for long, and with the death of Bian Junwu, the strength of the Black Robe team will be greatly reduced. If there is a large-scale conflict, will he come back safe and sound next time? Seeing Bailey Changqing's appearance, Zhang Yi took out a pack of Xiangsha from the different space and handed one to Bailey Changqing. Bailey Changqing's eyes lit up immediately. Before the end of the world, this kind of cigarettes cost 100 yuan a pack. Now, the cigarette industry chain has long been shut down, and it is impossible for major forces to waste resources on this. Therefore, the value of this package in the world is even higher. If it is placed in Blizzard City, it can be exchanged for a good weapon. Zhang Yi lit it himself first, and then lit it for Bailey Changqing. Bailey Changqing took a deep breath, and then showed a satisfied expression on his face. The two chatted a little bit. Waiting around inside is also boring. Zhang Yi might as well chat with Bailey Changqing outside and learn more about the Jiangnan region by the way. Not only them, but also people from other forces came out to breathe. There are heavy guards around the guild hall, and they are not allowed to leave the surrounding area of the guild hall. Soon, there were many people smoking and chatting outside in twos and threes. Suddenly, Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing heard a commotion not far away. The two looked over curiously. I heard someone say in my ear, go over and watch the fun. Someone is fighting. Hey, this is really interesting. Just go over and have a look. Relieve boredom. Hearing this, Bailey Changqing immediately contacted the surrounding Yan Yunwei to ask what happened. Soon he received a response. Facing Zhang Yi's curious eyes, he smiled and said, someone is fighting outside. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, you don't care about that? Bailey Changqing said disapprovingly, as long as they don't destroy Blizzard City or conflict with the residents of Blizzard City, we won't care about it. This is not on Blizzard City's regulations. Zhang Yi said with a smile, maybe they are too boring, they are looking for fun. Bailey Changqing looked at Zhang Yi with a slightly teasing look in his eyes, but, I heard that there are people from Xianhe City who are fighting. Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly froze. People from Xianhe City? Before he came, he had repeatedly warned everyone not to conflict with any aliens from other cities here. Even if something happens, you have to wait until the conference is over before dealing with it. Who is so impulsive and conflicted with others? I just hope that the people who are not on my team are good. Bailey Changqing said, do you want to go and have a look? Zhang Yi has turned around and walked towards the busiest place. Bailey Changqing and Zhang Yi walked there together, and there were already many spectators gathered in the noisy front. Everyone shouted excitedly, kill him. Hit me hard. With Bailey Changqing leading the way, the surrounding crowd quickly branched out. He and Zhang Yi squeezed together to the front of the crowd. Only then did Zhang Yi see who was fighting. One is Chen Jingwen, and the other is Sun Jianming from Days City. Seeing them, Zhang Yi understood what was going on. Chaoyu Base and Sun Jianming's forces are both at sea, and there have been conflicts in the past. Back then, the Chaoyu Base was strong, and according to Wei Dinghei's temper, he must have suppressed Sun Jianming a lot. Now that today's sea market is in decline, the strength of Chaoyu Base is only % of its heyday. Naturally, Sun Jianming would not let go of this opportunity and beat the dog in the water. The two may have had a quarrel, so they fought. After Bailey Changqing came over, several Yan'an guards nearby saw him and greeted him respectfully. Although they are not a system, Bailey Changqing's level is much higher than these Yan'an. In addition, Bailey Changqing is also a person who has gone out of the Yan'an system and is their outstanding predecessor. How is this going? Bailey Changqing asked a Yan Yunwei who was wearing a black combat uniform. The Yan Yunwei said with a smile, they want to fight themselves. They have already applied to us, and of course we have no reason to refuse. He also had an attitude of watching the fun. Zhang Yi frowned and watched the scene in the field. Sun Jianming's ability is very special. It seems that he should be an ability user of the strengthening department. His two arms swelled up, like the arms of two orangutans, and the palms of his hands became like two huge cattail fans. As for Chen Jingwen who was opposite him, he was beaten in an extremely embarrassing manner, with many injuries all over his body. Obviously, Chen Jingwen was no match for Sun Jianming. Sun Jianming looked at the struggling Chen Jingwen with a mocking sneer on his face. If Wei Dinghei is still alive, maybe he can fight me. What kind of thing are you, and you are worthy of fighting me? When Chen Jingwen heard Sun Jianming mentioning his dead old superior, he was instantly enraged and rushed towards him with a roar. Chen Jingwen's movements were like lightning, and his body twisted in midair, as if a huge human snake was about to wrap itself around Sun Jianming's body. But Sun Jianming calmly said, hey. Courting death. His two huge palms opened, caught Chen Jingwen's body, and then grabbed it tightly. Then he stretched Chen Jingwen's body like noodles, and smashed it to the ground. Originally, Chen Jingwen's ability could soften himself and increase his toughness, making it hard to hurt even bullets. But when Sun Jianming made a move, a shocking force emanated from his right hand, which penetrated Chen Jingwen's body and directly stirred his internal organs. Cough cough. Chen Jingwen suddenly spat out a big mouthful of blood. However, Sun Jianming didn't intend to stop. He laughed and swung him around like a rope. The outcome has been decided. The difference in strength between the two is too great. Chen Jingwen has no chance of winning. At this time, he seemed to have become a toy in the hands of Zhang Yi. When the people around saw this scene, they laughed excitedly and applauded Zhang Yi. Haha, nice job. Is this the alien from Xianhei City? It's too good. It is said that he is still the leader of a faction, isn't it? That's it. It seems that Xianhei City doesn't have any strong people anymore. TSK. I just heard about it before, but now I see it with my own eyes, and there is nothing to doubt. This kind of person can dominate any place. It's a pity that such a good place. Some people's eyes have begun to change. Xianhei City is very rich. Chapter 589 YOUN-039. They humiliated us. This is not a duel, but a unilateral devastation. Chen Jingwen and Sun Jianming's strengths are not at the same level. According to Zhang Yi's judgment, Chen Jingwen's ability level is only at the gamma level of LV3, which is already behind the first tier level of Xianhei City. If it hadn't been for Wei Dinghei's death, there would be no chance for him to be in power. The ability he was so proud of was being played around at will by others, and he made a fool of himself at this time. There are also subordinates from Zhao who base around, but they dare not go to rescue Chen Jingwen at all. Because this was a one-on-one duel as promised, even Chen Jingwen was beaten up by Sun Jianming, so it was useless for them to fight. The Yiren in Day's city are not vegetarians. Among the crowd, Zhang Yi also saw Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Shan both present. But they obviously have no intention of making a move. When Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Shan saw Zhang Yi, their eyes looked hopeful, and they looked at Zhang Yi clearly asking if he wanted to make a move. Zhang Yi smiled coldly and looked away. Bailey Changqing glanced at Zhang Yi, a little worried that Zhang Yi would suddenly get angry and kill everyone here. He put his hand on Zhang Yi's shoulder and comforted him. Do you want me to stop it? It's not convenient for you to do it. Zhang Yi looked at Bailey Changqing when he heard the words, but suddenly laughed. There was no trace of displeasure in his smile. No need, isn't this very interesting? Just to relieve everyone's boredom. The relationship between him and the three major forces in Xianhei City is also not close. Although the three major bases tried their best to please him, hoping to get his protection. But this time, Chen Jingwen disobeyed Zhang Yi's warning and went to a duel with Sun Jianming without authorization, already violating his order. Just let him suffer for himself. As for this matter, the forces in other cities will think that Xianhei City is weak. That doesn't matter. If anyone has that kind of idea, they can come and give it a try. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he turned around and left. This kind of unilateral farce was nothing to watch. After thinking about it for a while, Bailey Changqing asked Yan Yunwei to stop Sun Jianming in the name of not wanting to kill anyone. But at this time, Chen Jingwen had already been beaten half of his life. It also let all the aliens present know that the level of aliens in Xianhei City is greatly reduced, and even this level can be the leader of the power. Zhang Yi returned to the venue, came to his seat and sat down. The others also came back one after another, talking and laughing about the battle just now, and the contempt for Xianhei City was palpable in their words. Many people even cast their eyes in the direction where Zhang Yi and the others were, and their tone was mostly ridiculed. Liang Yu sighed softly. Now things have become troublesome. Chen Jingwen's defeat makes people feel that Xianhei City has no strong power and is weak to be bullied. Even Liang Yu can see the problem, and other people can naturally see it too. There was a look of worry in everyone's eyes. Zhang Yi didn't say anything. It is useless to say more now. The key is to see how you do it. After handling the affairs of Blizzard City, he will naturally find someone who stands out to show his prestige, letting people know that there are still strong people in Xianhei City. Zhao Hanglian, Crossing Shan and others also came back, followed by Chen Jingwen who was covered in injuries. Although it felt a little embarrassing, they were all Xianhei City organizations after all, so they couldn't just ignore him. Several people came to sit not far from Zhang Yi. Chen Jingwen looked bruised and swollen, but Sun Jianming didn't dare to kill here after all, so there was no serious problem with his actions. After several people sat down, they could clearly hear other people's ridicule towards them, and their faces were extremely ugly. But Zhang Yi didn't even bother to look at Chen Jingwen, chatting and laughing with Zhao Keller, Luke Karen and others there. It was Zhao Hanglian who couldn't stand it any longer, so she leaned over and said to Zhang Yi, "Zhang Yi, can you ask Dr. Zhao to show Chenjing? He seems to have hurt his internal organs." Without looking back, Zhang Yi said lightly, "He likes to fight, why can't he afford to lose?" Zhao Hanglian's face was a little embarrassed. She also knew that Zhang Yi was annoyed that Chen Jingwen didn't listen to him and fought Sun Jianming privately. Chen Jingwen also knew that he was wrong, but he still explained to Zhang Yi, "It's not that I'm aggressive, it's that they're bullying too much. I just had a good chat with an old acquaintance outside, and he ran over and taunted my old boss Wading He. He also said that there is no one in our Xianhe city now, so why not join him and let his people manage Xianhe city? In front of so many powers in the city, if I just bear with it, won't people look down on the power of Xianhe city?" Hearing this, Zhang Yi glanced at him, but asked casually, "Then, are you giving Mayor Xianhe face now?" One sentence slapped Chen Jingwen's face. Now everyone has seen that the leader of a faction in Xianhe city is so weak that Sun Jianming treats him like a bug. All the faces of the major forces in Xianhe city were completely lost by Chen Jingwen. Chen Jingwen's expression became distorted. Zhang Yi didn't let him continue to be convenient, but said coldly, "Okay, don't talk anymore. You don't need to explain anything to me. After all, we are not familiar with each other." Chen Jingwen's back felt cold. Zhang Yi's words were already expressing his attitude. "Since you don't listen to me, we will have nothing to do with you in the future. What does the life and death of your Zhao base have to do with me? You don't even need to explain your approach to me." Chen Jingwen hurriedly confessed to Zhang Yi, "Zhang Yi, I was wrong. I was wrong this time, and I deserved the beating. I will listen to you in everything from now on, so please don't ignore us." The biggest reliance of Chao base is shipping. After today's incident, Sun Jianming saw his strength, and he might attack them mercilessly at sea in the future. It is even possible to come across the sea and destroy them. At that time, Chao base will be over. If you want to survive, you must get Zhang Yi's protection. Zhang Yi sneered. "Wrong? What's wrong with you? How capable are you? The leader of Tang Tang's Zhao base. Do you need to apologize to me for what you have done? You are just exposing your own strength and making people think that the forces in Xianhe city are not strong enough. It's just adding trouble to other forces. What's wrong with you?" Although Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Xian didn't speak, they also had opinions on Chen Jingwen's behavior in their hearts, but Zhang Yi didn't shy away from saying it. Chen Jingwen's face turned pale. He hesitated and didn't know what to say. He is also only about 30 years old. Although he is older than Zhang Yi, but he was born in a high-ranking official family, and he was taken care of everywhere as soon as he entered the army. His temperament is far worse than Zhang Yi. So much so that, after being slightly stimulated by Sun Jianming, he couldn't control himself and ran to duel with others. He can't even judge his own strength clearly, and being slapped in the face by others has also caused trouble for other forces in Xianhe city. If he is good, who is wrong? Chapter 590 Federation. For someone like Chen Jingwen who is troubled off stage and soft-footed on stage, he has to be slapped in the face severely. It's okay if he wakes up, but if Zhang Yi can't wake up, he doesn't bother to care about him. Compared with Wading He, who is scheming and calculating, Chen Jingwen is not a little bit worse. If things go on like this, without Zhang Yi asking, Chao base will soon be destroyed, or be seized by his subordinates. Chen Jingwen was really scared. He buried his head very low. "Zhang Yi, I was wrong. I did something wrong. Please, for the sake of everyone being a powerful force in Xianhe city, please help me." Zhang Yi sneered disdainfully. When will they be able to talk about the fact that they are both forces in Xianhe city? Have you forgotten that they were still facing each other life and death before? Shh. Zhang Yi put a finger in front of his lips, signaling him to stop talking. Take a break. Zhang Yi was really fooled by Chen Jingwen this time. However, this incident at best accelerated the conflict between Xianhe city and other cities. Since the Xianhe city war, the population has withered, and conflicts with surrounding cities are inevitable. Sooner or later Zhang Yi will take action to deal with this matter. It's just that Chen Jingwen must pay the price for his stupid behavior. Without showing enough sincerity, it is impossible for Zhang Yi to protect him. At this time, Zhang Yi was already thinking about whether to take him a few large sailing boats. Chen Jingwen was terrified right now. He hesitated and didn't know what to say. Zhao Keller is still smart. She could see that Zhang Yi didn't stop talking, but he didn't intend to give up Chaoyu base completely. So she walked over, smiled and said to Chen Jingwen, "Let me help you look at the injury first." With Zhao Keller's reconciliation, Chen Jingwen felt a little better. Zhao Keller helped Chen Jingwen check his body and found that his internal organs were indeed seriously injured. Although it seems that there is no serious problem on the surface, it will not take long to become a serious injury or even endanger life. She used the ability of doctor to help Chen Jingwen heal, and then took the medicine from the medicine bag she carried with her and gave it to him. Chen Jingwen was very grateful, thanked him repeatedly, and begged Zhao Keller to intercede with Zhang Yi for him. Zhao Keller just smiled, telling him to rest and recuperate, and never fight with others again. She returned to Zhang Yi's side and whispered to Zhang Yi about the hidden wounds in Chen Jingwen's body. Zhang Yi's eyes flashed, and he looked at the forces in Day's city not far from them. Sun Jianming's big bald head turned his back to him, as if he felt Zhang Yi's gaze. He also turned his head, showed a cold smile at Zhang Yi, and even made a gesture of wiping his neck. Zhang Yi withdrew his gaze, did not continue to discuss this matter, but said lightly, "Let's wait for the meeting." At around 2:30 in the afternoon, Zhu Zheng finally appeared at the venue. Accompanying him was Tu Yunli, the head of the war department, and Deng Shentong, the captain of the celestial squad. As soon as these people appeared at the scene, the strong sense of oppression immediately made the venue quiet. Zhu Zheng's expression is very serious today, which has something to do with the big event that happened in the morning. But since he came here, it means that the matter has been dealt with almost. Standing on the stage, Zhu Zheng glanced over the more than 1,000 people present. He could feel the strength and rebelliousness of many strangers in these 12 cities. If he can gather this force, it will be no less than the Yan'an troops in his hands. "Welcome everyone to Blizzard City." Zhu Zheng spoke, his calm and powerful voice spread to everyone's ears along with the microphone. "I'm Zhu Zheng, Commander-in-Chief of the Jiangnan region. I was delayed for a while because of a special incident. I would like to apologize to everyone here. Next, I won't waste everyone's time. Let's make a long story short and talk about the purpose of calling everyone here. Since the arrival of the Ice Age in December last year, the world has been in chaos and society has lost its proper order. Half a year has passed now, and most of the survivors have joined together to form large and small forces. Among them, there are many lucky ones who have awakened their abilities and have powers beyond ordinary people. And all of you here are representatives of the most powerful forces in each region. I hope that we can concentrate our efforts on major tasks and not be like a mess of sand, prone to conflict with each other. So, from today, I decided to set up the Jiangnan Superpower Federation. Everyone in the Jiangnan region must participate in it. Especially the large forces in your 12 cities must become important members of the Federation. Zhu Zheng's voice echoed in the venue. Many people couldn't help frowning when they heard this and began to think. Zhang Yi crossed his arms and thought to himself, sure enough, it's just that I don't know what they want us to do and how much benefit they will give us otherwise. None of these people here would do anything that is not beneficial. If it becomes a big problem, even if the strength of the Jiangnan region is strong, it may take a huge price to suppress it. Others were also talking in low voices, and there was a lot of noise in the hall. Tu Yunli, Deng Shentong, and Sun Luxun, the guard next to Zhu Zheng, glanced at the venue. Their powerful aura made everyone shut their mouths, waiting for Zhu Zheng's next words. Zhu Zheng continued, the Jiangnan Superpower Federation is affiliated to the Jiangnan Regional Headquarters, and I will be the president myself. Members of the Federation can act within their respective regions. However, in case of special events, the district will assign tasks, and the members of the Federation will carry out the mission, and they must not violate it. Hearing this request, the discussion on the scene resounded. Someone couldn't help snorting coldly, isn't this going to make us the lackeys of the Jiangnan region? And it's the kind that brings its own dog food. Yeah, if we are allowed to join the big region, it's fine to live in Blizzard City. But on the one hand, we are allowed to stay where we are, and on the other hand, we have to do things for them unconditionally. Isn't this like putting a dog around our necks? Chain. ZHU Zhang raised his voice a little. Of course, I won't let you do things for nothing. As long as you complete the tasks assigned by the district, you will be rewarded accordingly. The medicines, weapons, and other supplies in the large area, you can all use the points obtained from the mission to exchange. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows, which was quite attractive. As far as he knows, the level of weapons in the region is much higher than that in Xianhai City. For example, the origin bomb, such as the unique training suit, and the weapons made of adamantium metal. I'm afraid it's just the tip of the iceberg of the Jiangnan region's arsenal. Moreover, according to the news disclosed by Bailey Changqing, the Jiangnan region has been able to synthesize compounds specifically for aliens to enhance their strength. These are all good things. Chapter 591 Absolute Strength. ZHU Zhang ignored the commotion below and calmly continued to finish speaking. The third point is that internal conflicts are strictly prohibited in the region. In the past 6 months, the number of human deaths due to internal conflicts has been horrific. Some aliens are among them. I don't want this to happen again. I don't think you want to live in fear every day. Therefore, the infighting must end immediately. Anyone who dares to invade other areas can file a complaint with the Federation, and I will send someone to make a judgment. The third point makes some forces excited. Not every faction's aliens are aggressive. After experiencing the brutal battles since the end of the world, there are always some people who hope to live a peaceful life. Hearing this, Zhao Ke looked at Zhang Yi with some relief. Wouldn't it be great if this could be done? The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth twitched, and he sneered softly. It's so naive. Just listen to this sentence. Don't take it seriously. If that kind of thing could be resolved so easily, there would not be so many turmoil throughout the ages. Human greed is endless. There will always be people who desire stronger power and more supplies to invade others. Sure enough, as soon as ZHU Zhang finished speaking, Gu Hongdi, the female leader of Days City, raised her hand and asked coquettishly, however, what if some weak forces occupy resource-rich areas? Isn't that a waste? When she said this, she glanced at Zhang Yi. Not only them, many people subconsciously looked at Chen Jingwen. Chen Jing blushed contemplatively, but helpless. Today he is well known in the entire Jiangnan region, the kind that makes people feel ashamed. ZHU Zhang frowned and said in a deep voice, the redistribution of resources will be coordinated by the region. Moreover, the resources in your respective areas of influence are enough for you to survive, right? The survivors in the Jiangnan region are now less than 5%, and it is impossible for there to be insufficient survival supplies. And the supplies that Gu Hongdi mentioned were naturally not needed for survival, but needed for strategy. For example, machinery factories, such as weapons, such as vehicles, such as population. If you want to expand your power and become stronger, these are all essential. Not everyone just wants to survive the end times. Many people are ambitious and want to lay down a piece of land in this troubled world so as to become kings and hegemons. Gu Hongdi curled her lips with a narrow smile on her face. Obviously she didn't take ZHU Zhang's words seriously. The faces of the aliens at the scene were full of contempt, and they all felt that Jiangnan region's request was too overbearing and unreasonable. Among the crowd, a man wrapped in white cloth stood up. He stared at ZHU Zhang and said with cold eyes, does the meaning of the Jiangnan region mean that we are all included and then left to your mercy? If we have to listen to your arrangements in everything we do, wouldn't we be no different from puppets? There was a voice of approval from below, and ZHU Zhang's face didn't change at all. It was just very abrupt, and there was a slight piercing sound in everyone's ears. The next moment, that alien's head flew high from his neck. Blood spattered and splashed onto the faces of the people next to him. His body was still standing, but his head fell to the table in front of him. Zhang Yi's eyes froze, and he caught everything that just happened. The alien was at least 30 meters away from the rostrum, but at that moment, the guard standing behind ZHU Zhang shot suddenly. 3 slender steel wires flew out from the sleeve of his right hand and cut off the head of that alien. It's just that he shot so fast that no one at the scene could react. Call out. The 3 steel wires shone with silver light in midair. They were too slender to see clearly without looking carefully. It's only because there is a trace of blood that has been thrown off on it that people notice it. Sun Luxuan took back his steel wire, then adjusted his black goatskin glove slowly, put his hands behind his back, and looked at the venue with a smile. With this move, the venue became silent again. Because the person who spoke just now, many people know, is a leader of a force in Sichuan City. It is said that his strength is very strong. He is a foreigner at the Delta level, and he is at the same level of strength as Xiao Hanglian and Wei Dinghe. However, it was such a foreigner who was headed by a trick. What a powerful deterrent is this. If the god can instantly kill the alien in white, he can naturally kill most of the aliens on the scene. Zhang Yi's eyes became darker. The strength of the guards around ZHU Zheng is indeed terrifying. Perhaps, they are even better than the frontier soldiers. Except for a few regions such as Blizzard City and Qianhe City, the Jiangnan 13 cities have not directly contacted the Jiangnan region. They naturally couldn't understand that their own strength was far from enough compared to Blizzard City's top combat power. It's just that they dominate within their own territory and give them false confidence. Let them think that they are qualified to talk to ZHU Zheng. However, although they are only tens of meters away from ZHU Zheng, in terms of their authority and strength, they seem to be separated by heaven. A foreigner murmured in astonishment. He actually made a move. Sun Luxuan's blow shattered many people's illusions. And with Sun Luxuan's shot, the doors behind and on both sides of the venue were also opened. Bailey Changqing appeared here with members of the Black Robe team and a large number of Yan Yunwei. The atmosphere at the scene was chilling. Even Deng Shentang twisted his wrist. His eyes were cold, and there was a mocking smile on his mouth. This strong sense of oppression made everyone present panic. The brilliance in Zhang Yi's eyes flowed, although he didn't think that Blizzard City would take action to clean it up, but he was still ready to escape. Cough cough. At this time, ZHU Zheng's voice came from the speaker. Don't get me wrong. He stared at everyone in the venue and said coldly, I'm not discussing with you, I'm just informing you. Any member who refuses to join the Superpower Federation is regarded as an opposition to the Federation and to the entire Jiangnan region. And such a force, such a person, there is no need to exist on this land. An indifferent smile appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. As it should be, he had already realized it. It's just that he didn't expect that there would be so many idiots trying to reason with a behemoth like the Jiangnan region. There are even people who dare to stand up and sing the opposite. Probably their brains have been frozen by the temperature of more than -60 degrees. Chapter 592 Who is in favor and who is against? Everything did not exceed Zhang Yi's expectations. After all, he had gotten along with Bailey Changqing before, and he also knew the considerations of the Jiangnan region. In all fairness, he thinks this move is more reasonable. If Zhang Yi stood in ZHU Zheng's position, he would adopt the same strategy. Otherwise, let the chaos continue in various places, and if the fight continues, the entire Jiangnan region will be beaten to pieces sooner or later. At that time, if there is another invasion by external forces, what else can be used to resist? As for whether Zhang Yi himself has any opinions on this, yes, but not many. Although it would be uncomfortable to be restrained by others, who made the Jiangnan region a bully, he is more powerful than him, and he doesn't mind giving Jiangnan district a face. Of course, if the other party asked him to die, then Zhang Yi would not agree. And before that step, Zhang Yi didn't want to completely turn against the Jiangnan region. After ZHU Zheng finished speaking, he looked at everyone again. After the intimidation just now, no one dared to be the first bird. Who is for and against what I just said? ZHU Zheng continued to ask. Everyone looked at each other and tacitly chose not to speak. ZHU Zheng said coldly, if you don't speak, I will assume that you all agree. Then, sign your names on this membership application. After ZHU Zheng finished speaking, his secretary Lan Xincheng pushed his glasses and gestured to Yan Yunwei outside. Immediately, two teams of people walked over from the two aisles with the prepared membership application forms in their hands and handed out the application forms to the leaders of each faction. As long as this membership application form is signed, it will mark that they will officially become a power organization under the jurisdiction of the Jiangnan region from now on. Will be dispatched by the Jiangnan region. Zhang Yi also received one, and he quickly read it, and it was the same as what Zhu Zeng said, without any other additional conditions. Zhang Yi naturally signed his name on it. Zhu Zeng is very concerned about this kind of procedure, but in fact Zhang Yi doesn't care so much. If one day, Zhu Zeng sent him to die, this piece of paper would not bind him in any way. As a human being, you must know how to be flexible, and there is no need to be the first bird. Some of the others were calm, and some were full of resignation, but because they were afraid of the Jiangnan region, they signed the membership application form one after another. Seeing the thick stack of forms in Lan Xincheng's hand, Zhu Zeng nodded in satisfaction. A smile appeared on his face, and he said to everyone, "Don't worry, I won't let you contribute in vain. Every month in the future, you can receive a set of supplies. These include weapons and equipment specially made by the region. And, if you complete the tasks assigned by the district, there will be special rewards for you." After Zhu Zeng finished speaking, he reached out and took out a small glass bottle from his jacket pocket and pinched it between his fingers. Everyone's eyes fell on the small glass bottle, curious about what it was. Zhu Zeng said in a deep voice, "This thing is called compound number 2. Its function is to help people enlighten their abilities and tap their potential. Simply put, after using it, your abilities will become stronger. This thing is also on the list of mission rewards." After hearing the effect of compound number 2, everyone's eyes became hot. So far, the only way they have found to strengthen abilities is devour. But this approach also has great difficulties. First, they need to kill one person to seize the origin of the other party. This is a relatively difficult thing, and the number of aliens is still too small. Second, as the level of abilities increases, the effect of cophagia also decreases, and it is necessary to continuously devour the origin of high-level aliens. But how can high-level aliens be so easy to kill? Now, Zhu Zeng told them that there are medicines that can help them increase their strength. Of course they are eager to get this thing. In the last days, strength is everything. But when Zhang Yi saw that thing, he frowned slightly. He also knew a little about the compound, and he learned it from a few words of Bailey Changqing. The reason why the headquarters of the Jiangnan region is so powerful and has so many high-level aliens is related to the compounds they developed. Bian Junwu seems to be the user of the compound. Even the mutated side effects around him were caused by the compound. Although powerful power can be obtained in a short period of time, it requires huge risks, and Zhang Yi is not willing to make this kind of exchange. But obviously, everyone else was deeply attracted by this thing. No wonder there are such strong aliens in the Jiangnan region. It turns out that they are assisted by medicine. Could it be? Can we get it too? As long as you complete the tasks sent by the Jiangnan region, it seems good. Zhu Zeng had a big stick in one hand and sweet dates in the other, which dissipated the dissatisfaction in everyone's hearts a lot. At least for now, it seems that it is still profitable to follow the Jiangnan region. Just when everyone was thinking about the pros and cons, Zhu Zeng spoke again. "You came at a very good time, and there is a chance for you right now." Not long ago, a group of Ronin organizations from the Neon Kingdom appeared in Linhai City. The total number of people in this organization is 13. Currently Linhai City has been occupied by them. If anyone can destroy these Ronin, then he can get 10 copies of compound number 2 and the right to control the entire Linhai City. There was an uproar immediately below. Because the words Neon Ronin are too powerful. No matter how they fought in the past, even if it involved life and death, it was still a family matter. But now that foreign enemies invaded, their hatred immediately shifted. The hateful Neon Rogue, dare to set foot on the land of my country of China. You really want to die? Don't they think that when the end of the world comes, they have the right to be arrogant? Kill all these damn Ronin, not one left. Zhang Yi also narrowed his eyes slightly. Neon Ronin, how dare they? They ran to the territory of Huaguo and occupied a city. Then there is no doubt that the local forces have been wiped out by them. No one can bear this matter. Uncle Yi gritted his teeth and scolded his mother. "MD, these dogs are bred by N. Kill them all." Everyone looked angry. Some people were also moved when they heard the conditions given by ZH using 10 copies of compound number 2 can greatly increase the strength of 10 aliens, and it will definitely make an organization much stronger. But the most alluring thing is the right to control Linhai City. The local forces in Linhai City have been wiped out by the Ronin. That is to say, whoever completes this task can become the absolute king of Linhai City. Moreover, its identity and power are also recognized and protected by the Jiangnan region. Many people have moved their minds. But there are also people who are thinking about how risky the job is. After all, that Ronin organization can wipe out the alien forces in the entire Linhai City. Chapter 593. ZH Zhang had a panoramic view of the changes in the expressions of the people below. He knew that some people were still waiting for specific information. ZH Zhang didn't play tricks either, and shared the information about those Ronin. These Ronin are from the north of Neon, and they are a local extreme organization called Erosion Moon. After they dominated Kanto, they came up with the idea of land in China, so they came across the sea. We have already communicated with the high-level forces of Neon. The behavior of these people has nothing to do with the high-level officials of Neon. It is a private behavior. Therefore, you can go hunting with confidence. Of course, they are not weak. You need to be prepared for this. But we have more people. As long as you want, anyone can go to do this task. All I want to see are the heads of 13 of them. A stranger below slowly raised his hand. ZH Zhang and Zhang Yi looked at him. It was an extremely tightly wrapped body, only revealing a pair of eyes. Zhang Yi had noticed him on the subway platform before. This person has the air of a soldier, and he should be a retired veteran. At this time, he was also the leader of a faction. The veteran asked. Neon executive said that those people were not sent by them. This sentence is completely unbelievable. What if we are attacked by the other party when we go to carry out the mission? Many people nodded in agreement with the veteran's words. There are a lot of people with neon lights, and there are many duplicity. Can you believe what they say? In case they go to perform the mission at that time, they will find that this group of people is only the vanguard of Neon, and there will be other reinforcement in the future. At that time, they will definitely be in danger. The corner of ZH Zhang's mouth raised, with a look of disdain. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they officially don't recognize these people as being associated with them. So, we can hunt these Ronin as much as we want. The Neon people dare not say anything. Otherwise, ZH Zhang sneered. If it proves that this group of people is related to the high-level officials of Neheng, the matter will be easily resolved. They shot first, and we can naturally use all means to fight back. What ZH Zhang said is almost plain. As long as this group of people is found to be related to the high-level Neheng, it will prove that the other party has started the war of invasion, and then the world will really be at peace. Even its allies have nothing to say. These words boosted the confidence of the strangers present. With the strong military strength of the Jiangnan region as their backing, they don't have to worry at all. All you need to do is launch a grand hunt for those neon rogues. The veteran nodded silently, agreeing with ZH Zhang's words. As for why the troops of the entire 12 cities in the south of the Yangtze River should be mobilized, the reason is also very simple. This is a siege. They want to surround the Erosion Moon organization and kill every single one. The other party will not be foolishly waiting to confront them. They must flee. And this kind of encirclement and suppression will inevitably require more than 10 times the strength of the opponent. Just like hundreds of years ago, thousands of Japanese pirates were encircled and suppressed in the southeast during the Ming Dynasty, and even 30 troops were used. Uncle Yu couldn't help but said to Zhang Yi, we can also participate in this siege. As a veteran of the army, Uncle Yu still has a heavy complex in this regard. Zhang Yi rested his cheeks in one hand, tilted his head, and looked indifferently at ZH Zhang and the frenzied crowd on the stage, but he was lost in thought. Ronin is certainly hateful, but before he does something, he will not act on his own will, but will consider the stakes. The Ronin must be suppressed, but why didn't ZH Zhang send his investigation team there? Even though the Black Robe team has lost its frontier army, the Shanshan team is fully staffed. Not to mention that they still have Yan'an guards. There may be only one answer, that is, ZH Zhang is reluctant to let his team take big risks. That's why it is necessary to let the forces in the outer city go to carry out this task. It would be best if it was successful. Even if it was unsuccessful, it would be possible to find out some details about the other party and then let the elite of Blizzard City go out. From this point of view, maybe in the future, when similar problems are encountered, the power of the outer city should be used first, and the elites in his hands are reserved. Unless they are performing special tasks, they will not be used easily. After all, the status of the Jiangnan region is maintained by armed forces, and ZHU Zheng also has to consider this factor. There are always people's selfishness. After thinking clearly, Zhang Yi calmly said to Uncle Yu, "Observe the situation first. Later, I will ask Bailey Changqing for the specific news over there." There must be some things that ZHU Zheng didn't make clear. Zhang Yi's character is to make decisions before acting, so that he can stand in a safe situation. On the podium, ZHU Zheng waved his hand and said righteously, "All organizations participating in this operation can go to the headquarters to receive supplies such as weapons and equipment." Zhang Yi said in his heart, this is also confirming how many forces are involved in the operation. If the number of participating forces is insufficient, I'm afraid it will be necessary to assign tasks by name. Immediately, someone stood up at the scene, expressing their attitude that they would lead people to Linhai City to encircle and suppress the group of wanderers. 4 or 5 forces popped up all of a sudden. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said in his heart, "In this case, I will not take the lead for the time being." Whether these forces are out of consideration for the righteousness of the family and the country, or simply for the benefits promised by ZHU Zheng, there must be a lot of people who will go to carry out the mission. Zhang Yi has never been a leader, even if the benefits are considerable. Then, let these people go first. It would be best if they could successfully wipe out those Ronin. If they fail, Zhang Yi can also use this to obtain more information. Then when he is dispatched, the chances of winning will be even higher. Looking at those enthusiastic strangers, Zhang Yi's eyes flashed a faint light. Only 13 people wiped out all the forces in Linhai City. How strong is the team named Erosion Moon? Will it be no weaker than Blizzard City's investigation team? If that's the case, those who went to encircle and suppress people don't know how many people will die. The meeting came to an end in the middle of a passionate voice. The forces willing to go to encircle and suppress the Eclipse Moon signed up one after another to receive supplies. And Zhang Yi led the people away from the venue calmly. Operations Center, Commander's Office. ZHU Zheng was sitting on the sofa, watching the report from Lan Xincheng. In the end, there were 10 forces that signed up to encircle and suppress the Eclipse in Linhai City. It's already quite a lot. This is a very powerful force. ZHU Zheng nodded. Although there are many large and small forces that came to Blizzard City this time, due to various reasons, many forces were unable to participate in the siege. For example, the geographical location of Linhai City is too far away from their city, or they have other concerns in mind. However, ZHU Zheng didn't see the signature of any leader of Xianhai City, especially Zhang Yi's signature. This made him frown. Xianhai City is very close to Linhai City, and Zhang Yi's strength is strong enough. But he is timid and avoids fighting, which really disappoints me. He felt more and more that Bailey Changqing was right. This Zhang Yi has too many eyes. It is hard to control. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594. ZHU Zheng thought of Bailey Changqing's evaluation of Zhang Yi, and couldn't help saying, this person puts personal interests first, and is indeed not suitable for being absorbed into my Blizzard City. When the secretary Lan Xincheng heard this, he immediately came over and said with a smile, after the turmoil of the corpse tide, Xianhai City is almost abandoned now. Not only are there few living people, but all major forces are also seriously damaged. Judging from their current strength, they simply cannot undertake the work of maintaining stability in the region. Now, Zhang Yi's performance is unsatisfactory again. Why not consider supporting a group of new forces? Hearing this, ZHU Zheng twitched his eyebrows, but his heart was already a little moved. The huge Xianhe city was originally a super big city with a population of 2,000 million. The city is also very rich in resources. But now, the population is dying, and the major forces guarding it, except for Zhang Yi's team, are powerless to govern. It would be better to introduce the power of other cities. First, to stabilize the stability of the Xianhe city area, and second, to give Zhang Yi a check and balance, to prevent him from being the dominant family in Xianhe city. To put it bluntly, Zhu Zheng didn't like Zhang Yi's solitary style. He tapped his hand on the table and said slowly, "This matter can be included in the plan. It just so happens that there are 10 factions participating in the mission in Linhe City this time. When the time comes, the task will be completed. If there is not enough land in Linhe City, we will introduce a few to Xianhe City. This will make things easier. To lightly divided up Xianhe City like a cake. In fact, for Zhang Yi, it doesn't matter. Anyway, his team is small and only needs 2 sites in Lujiang District and Zishan District. No matter how much Zhu Zheng struggled, it had nothing to do with him, and it was the interests of the other 3 families that were being moved. However, if anyone dares to snatch food from his mouth, Zhang Yi gave the Jiangnan region face. "You can come here. But you are here, can you still leave?" At this time, Zhu Zheng received a report from the front desk. "Commander, Captain Deng Shentong of the Shanshan squad, please see me." Hearing this, Zhu Zheng raised his hand and said, "Let him in." Lan Xincheng smiled and said, "Deng Shentong probably came to invite the fight." The Celestial Squad led by Deng Shentong is the most famous in Blizzard City. Because Deng Shentong is young, powerful, and warlike, he is always the one who is the most active in performing tasks, eager to make contributions, and make a name for himself. Now Blizzard City's points leaderboard, he has been dominating the leaderboard for nearly 2 months. As a result, many people in Blizzard City believed that he was the #1 expert in the Jiangnan region. Coupled with his excellent background and handsome appearance, he was once favored by most residents of Xianhe City. Many people even believed that once Zhu Zheng retreated to the second line one day, it would be Deng Shentong who would take over the position of regional commander. Facing this young genius, Zhu Zheng also admired him very much. After a while, Deng Shentong entered Zhu Zheng's office through several doors. As soon as he came over, he asked Zhu Zheng, "Commander, why don't you let us carry out this mission? Although there are a lot of alien teams sent over this time, it is obvious that the other party is not an ordinary alien organization. If they really want to escape, they will not be able to catch them with the forces in the outer city." Deng Shentong said with some contempt. "After all, they are not professional, and they fight with each other, and it is even more difficult to unite and cooperate." But after Zhu Zheng heard these words, he laughed. He leaned back on the sofa tactically and asked casually, "Do you know much about eclipses?" Deng Shentong opened his mouth, but said nothing. Those Ronin from Neon, they have never been in contact with, nor can they get information. Zhu Zheng took a deep breath and said, "The current Neon, Kanto and Kansei are divided into 2 factions. One is Izumo, in Kanto, and the other is Pelican, in Kansei. The Eclipse group is a group of Ronin in Kanto. Even the Izumo organization, which controls most of the official power in Kanto, is helpless against them. It can be seen that the strength of these Ronin is very strong, even comparable to your investigation team." Zhu Zheng stared at Deng Shentong. His eyes became serious. "I can't let you take risks without getting accurate information. After all, the 6 investigation teams are the pillars of Blizzard City." Deng Shentong frowned. Neon is just a small country. What level can the unscrupulous alien organization in that place have? Zhu Zheng shook his head and looked at Deng Shentong helplessly. "Don't underestimate your opponents. Underestimating them is tantamount to underestimating yourself. Even during the Great Patriotic War, our battle losses with Neon were 5-1 or even 9-1. We can despise the enemy strategically, but we must pay attention to the enemy tactically. We must not be careless." Deng Shentong calmed down, and he thought about it secretly. Although the land area of Nihon is not large, there is also a province with hundreds of millions of people. According to this ratio, it is not surprising that many powerful aliens were born from it. Deng Shentang even thought jokingly that the Nihon people have always been perverted, and it is normal for them to be a little more powerful after the mutation. He understood Zhu Zheng's purpose. So what do you mean, let the forces in the outer city go to Linhai City first, in fact to let them obtain information about the eclipse? Zhu Zheng nodded approvingly. That's right, that's the purpose. Of course, it would be best if they can clean up this batch of aliens smoothly. But even if they fail, at least they can produce something of the eclipse. At that time, they will also have a share in your credit book. Deng Shentang understood Zhu Zheng's thoughts and calmed down. It's just that, I think with the strength of those people, it may be difficult to do it. For some reason, Zhang Yi's figure appeared in Deng Shentang's mind. Among those forces in the outer city, there are not many people who can catch his eyes, and Zhang Yi is undoubtedly the most prominent one. Because he beat Wu Di, Deng Shentang couldn't help asking, did Zhang Yi from Heishi go that day? Hearing Deng Shentang ask about Zhang Yi, Deng Shentang, Lan Xincheng, and Sun Luxuan were all a little surprised. This defiant and proud leader of the Celestial Squad rarely hears other people's names from his mouth. Zhu Zheng was a little displeased. That guy, he didn't sign up to participate in this operation at all. How cunning. Deng Shentang's eyes flashed, but he said with a smile, it's better to say that he is very smart. At least he knows that this task is not that simple. Zhu Zheng obviously didn't like this statement very much. He crossed his hands on his chest and said with a straight face, if everyone is as self-centered as he is, then the Superpower Federation will not be able to continue. Zhu is a soldier, and the soldier believes in obeying orders unconditionally and taking the will of the top as the only principle of action. But Deng Shentang is not, and neither is Zhang Yi. So instead of thinking that Zhang Yi was rebellious, Deng Shentang admired his intelligence. He is capable of everything, as long as he has talent, he can tolerate everything else. After all, Deng Shentang is an excellent leader. Excellent leaders are good at discovering the strengths of their subordinates, so that they can be better driven by themselves. Chapter 595. The Other Side. Zhang Yi led everyone out of the Xianchang clubhouse, which was still bustling with activity. Although the meeting was over, many people stayed there, actively discussing the situation in Linhai City. Zhang Yi didn't need to chat with them, he could get more information from Bailey Changqing. At this moment, a mocking sound came from their ears. Xianhai City is right next to Linhai City. Now that the Neon Rogues are invading, you actually ran away timidly. It's really embarrassing. This voice couldn't help changing the faces of the people present. Especially Chen Jingwen. His face turned blue and red. Anger and humiliation filled his eyes. Because the person who spoke was none other than Sun Jianming, the leader of the forces from Daze City. Zhang Yi frowned slightly and looked towards them. I saw the three major forces in Daze City gathering together and walking outside. The number of aliens from these three major forces is much more than that in Xianhai City, and the number is more than 3 times that of Xianhai City. Naturally, in terms of momentum, they overwhelmed them. Zhao Honglian and the others were a little nervous. The gap in the number of people is too great. If there is a fight, Zhao Honglian looked at Zhang Yi subconsciously. If Zhang Yi makes a move, they still have a chance to win. No, you can definitely win. Zhang Yi never fought, because he couldn't win the battle. Thinking of it this way, Zhao Honglian felt more at ease, and only felt that Zhang Yi's handsome side face became more and more fascinating. After returning to Xianhai City, she will definitely get closer to Zhang Yi. The structure of the Jiangnan region will definitely change in the future, and she also needs to find an umbrella for the Yangsheng base. The leaders of the 3 major forces in Daze City walked over here. There is still some distance between them, and it can be seen that the relationship is not so harmonious. It's just that when putting pressure on Xianhai City, their purpose is the same. Zhang Yi smiled lightly and said, didn't Shuai Zhu say it? This matter is all voluntary. It seems that we don't need you to worry about what we do. Sun Jianming and the other 2 looked at each other, and the contempt in their eyes became stronger. Even the stranger next to them sneered. It's ridiculous to be able to say such words. At present, the righteousness of the family and the country only know how to hide and be a coward. So you are still qualified to come here on behalf of Xianhai City? Let me tell you, Hay City's power has been abolished today. Just look at the leader of Choyu base, TSK. If you don't have the ability to grasp such a good area in Cheyenne City, it's better to let it out early. The strangers in Days City mocked the strangers in Cheyenne City unscrupulously. This made the faces of the aliens in Cheyenne City very ugly. Even the good-tempered Liang Yu couldn't help frowning, subconsciously looking at Zhang Yi. As long as Zhang Yi opens his mouth, they will rush forward without hesitation and slap this group of people in the face. However, Zhang Yi listened to their cynicism, but there was no expression on his face. The weak will be annoyed by other people's stimulation, such as Chen Jingwen. Because of her weakness, she has low self-esteem, so she can't listen to others' ridicule. But for the strong, the sound of the ants is too small to be heard at all. How could he lose his composure because of a group of bugs? Just pity their ignorance. But Zhang Yi won't do anything outside the Cheyenne Chang Guild Hall. Presumably the other party also intends to provoke them to attack, and then fight back fiercely. In this way, even if the top management of Blizzard City blamed it, they could still shift the responsibility to the other person in Cheyenne City. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, with some pure killing intent in his heart. These annoying bugs really want to be trampled to death one by one. He smiled slightly. Excuse me. Then he said to the other people next to him, let's go. After finishing speaking, Zhang Yi turned around without looking back, and walked in the direction of the apartment. Originally, Zhao Hanglian, Chen Jingwen and others were still waiting for Zhang Yi to make a move. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yi had no temper at all, and left after being ridiculed like that. They were dumbfounded. Also dumbfounded were the aliens from Days City. Can you bear such face-to-face ridicule? Is it cowardly and incompetent, or tolerant? Only Liang Yu, Uncle Yu, Fatty Zhu and others left behind Zhang Yi with a smile on their faces. They have long understood Zhang Yi's style of doing things. Where is it that you can irritate him with a few words? Seeing that everyone in Zhang Yi's team had left, Crossing Cheyenne hurriedly followed. From the beginning to the end, Zhang Yi did not greet them. In Zhang Yi's eyes, if they wanted to fight with the people in Days City, he would not intervene. Zhao Hanglian and Chen Jingwen understood something in their hearts. They gave the strangers in Days City a hard look, then turned and left silently. Sun Jianming spat viciously on the ground. Bah. Cowardly bastard. What the hell? On the other side, Gu Hongdi, the leader of the Bingdi organization, said with a smile, their leaders look so weak. How can such a person lead a team? As a leader, you must have sufficient majesty and ability. If you can't protect your own territory and subordinates, who will obey you? In Gu Hongdi's view, what Zhang Yi did was a sign of cowardice. At this time, Chen Liangyu, the leader of the third faction, had a cunning light in his eyes, and said with a smile, isn't this just what we want? Sun Jianming, Gu Hongdi, and Chen Liangyu looked at each other, and then all had sinister smiles on their faces. They can already conclude what kind of situation Cheyenne City is today. Zhao base, once one of the 5 major powers in Cheyenne City, its leader turned out to be a Gamma-level alien, who was hanged and beaten by Sun Jianming. In Days City, this level is at most the captain level, and they deliberately came here to find fault, in fact, to confirm the strength of other organizations in Cheyenne City. But in the end, they uttered insults recklessly, but those people didn't even dare to speak back, and fled in desperation. This is a very good opportunity, Sun Jianming said in a deep voice. Gu Hongdi looked at the two with a smile. It's rare for the 3 of us to get together. How about finding a place to have a drink and chat? Sun Jianming and Chen Liangyu happily agreed to Gu Hongdi's proposal. They all know what's on each other's minds. Now there is interference from external forces in the Jiangnan region, and in the surrounding area of Cheyenne City. Several major forces have participated in the encirclement and suppression of the rogues in Linhai City. At this moment, no one cared about what happened in Cheyenne City. None of them signed up for that mission. The purpose is to eat this piece of fat in Cheyenne City. Don't look at ZHU Zheng's righteous words. They are not allowed to fight among themselves. But as long as they take over the territory of Cheyenne City first, there are naturally many ways to explain it. For example, help brother cities maintain law and order, and targeted support for poor and weak areas. As long as the established facts are established first, the Jiangnan region will not say anything at that time. Who will help the weak to speak? Chapter 596 Don 039 TB dazzled by emotions. Zhang Yi left first and walked towards the apartment. Looking back, he planned to see Bailey Changqing again, drop by Deng Shentang's appointment, and then return to Xianhe City without incident. For the group of bad people in Days City, Zhang Yi has already seen their inner thoughts. These guys must have thought that the forces in Xianhe City were weak and deceptive, so they had the idea of attacking them. Then there is no doubt that it is most appropriate for them to take advantage of the attack of the rogues now, and the minds of the district are all there. At that time, Zhang Yi will give them a big surprise. Zhao Hanglian and Chen Jingwen followed up. Chen Jingwen kept looking at Zhang Yi, who was in front of him, murmured and did not dare to say anything, but in his heart, he was still a little unhappy with Zhang Yi's actions. Being humiliated in front of others. You, Zhang Yi, are the current boss of Xianhe City after all. Don't you even dare to speak back. The relationship between Zhao Hanglian and Zhang Yi is closer. After all, she helped Zhang Yi back then. In addition, she is a woman and has an advantage in terms of gender. Even if she asks Zhang Yi, she will not be angry. So she came up and said with a smile as much as possible, Zhang Yi, that we don't have any opinion on your actions. It's just that you don't have to treat them that way just now, right? What kind of attitude? Zhang Yi glanced at her and asked a little coldly. It's just, it feels a bit weak. You obviously don't need to do this. Zhao Hanglian said. Zhang Yi sneered disdainfully. With his hands in his pockets, he glanced at Chen Jingwen behind him with a trace of contempt in his eyes. Then what do you think is appropriate for me to do? Get into a fight with them and then be punished for violating Blizzard City's management regulations? Or immediately go back and quarrel with them like shrews swearing at the street? There are so many of them. Have you ever quarreled with them? Zhang Yi shook his head. Don't do meaningless things. But Zhao Hanglian said, but in this way, people will think that Xianhe City, are weak and can be bullied. That's not my reason. Zhang Yi sneered. Chen Jingwen behind him blushed and hurriedly buried his head. Zhang Yi was clearly pointing at him. Zhao Hanglian wanted to say something more, but Zhang Yi became impatient. Zhang Yi, have acted all my life. Why do I need to explain to you? This sentence choked Zhao Hanglian back, and she didn't dare to ask any more, so she could only lower her head helplessly and say, don't be angry, I'm just asking casually. With that, she stepped aside. After arriving at the apartment, Chen Jingwen went to heal himself, and the others also returned to their rooms. Everyone has worries in their hearts, especially the three major base organizations, who are worried about the future situation of Xianhe City. Today is different from the past, and their three major bases are no longer powerful forces. Even now, facing the oppression of the three alien organizations in Days City, they can only endure it silently. Those who speak badly, even if the three of them join forces, they will not be as strong as the original one. Now we can only rely on Zhang Yi, otherwise the alien organizations in Days City or other forces that covet Xianhe City's resources will attack, and they will definitely be defeated. Therefore, at this time, they must consider the way out in the future. But the conversation was divided into two parts, and on Zhang Yi's side, everyone also gathered in a room. After closing the doors and windows, Liang Yu was the first to ask, Zhang Yi, when shall we make a move? Zhang Yi is not the kind of submissive character. Others are bullying him, how can he be indifferent? It didn't happen at that time, just because it didn't come at the right time. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa seat. Hearing this, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. We are not the active party. We need to wait for them to make the first move. Wait for them to make the first move. Liang Yu couldn't help frowning, and the others were also curious about Zhang Yi's decision. Aren't we going to be passive? Zhang Yi smiled and looked at everyone. Oh, tell me, what should we do? Fatty Zhu, who had always been wretched, stood up boldly at this time. He gritted his teeth and said, those guys are too hateful. I can't bear to humiliate us in front of so many people. If you want me to say, let's run ahead of time on their way back to Days City and intercept them. Fatty Zhu looked at Zhang Yi and smiled all over his face. Based on your strength, boss, isn't it easy to kill them? Zhang Yi asked back. Oh, then do you understand their strength? This Fatty Zhu was speechless. How could he understand the strength of the alien organization in Day City? Zhang Yi asked again. Then do you understand my strength? Fatty Zhu was going to say something, but seeing Zhang Yi's playful eyes, he still shut his mouth wisely. The others also looked at Zhang Yi, intending to hear what he would do next. Zhang Yi said to them very seriously, since they are all my own people, I will tell you the truth. First of all, my strength is not as good as that of Yuan Khan Guy, and even the devouring ability is not complete. Not to mention, that her origin was also incomplete. This may be related to her supernatural attributes. So, don't think that I have the strength of Epsilon level now. In fact, I can only be regarded as a relatively strong existence in Delta. Also, don't underestimate anyone. You have seen Sun Jianming's strength, and he can completely abuse Chen Jingwen. As for the leaders of the other two forces, I'm afraid that they are not much different from him. It's a very stupid thing to act rashly before you figure out the opponent's ability, and we go and kill them without knowing anything. What is that if it's not arrogance? Zhang Yi's words made everyone feel strange. For some reason, they all subconsciously believed that Zhang Yi's strength had already reached, at least close to Yuan Khan Guy's level. Yuan Khan Guy's destructive power had left a deep impression on them. So much so that they think that Zhang Yi can also use his own strength to casually kill the aliens below Epsilon. But it sounds like that at this time, but it is not the same thing at all. Zhao Kenna was very smart to realize the problem. Actually speaking carefully, even if we count the strength of the three major bases, we still have a big gap with the opponent in terms of overall strength. The only advantage is that Zhang Yi's strength is higher than Thi's. But we only analyze this through common sense, and we can't even determine what their abilities are. Therefore, it is not a wise approach to attack rashly and intercept and kill them in advance. Zhang Yi nodded approvingly. He looked at Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu and said, you guys are all overwhelmed by anger. Remember my words. To survive in the end times, you must always stay rational. Chapter 597 Chen Jingwen's Pain. Zhang Yi's explanation convinced everyone. This is also his consistent style of doing things, and he will never put himself in danger because of complacency. How can there be invincibility? Yuan Khan Guy thought so too at the beginning, but died at the hands of Zhang Yi, who was far less powerful than her. Zhang Yi will not make the same mistake. The lion fights the rabbit with all his strength. You don't have to worry, instead of rushing to find them, and then showing your flaws. It's better to wait for work and fight in our homeland. Zhang Yi said with a smile. His eyes shone with wisdom. In fact, he already had a plan to deal with those people in his heart. Fatty Zhu laughed quickly and said, boss, I knew you wouldn't let them go so easily. Zhang Yi shrugged. It cannot be said that I will not let them go. It should be said that they will definitely come to seek death. Zhang Yi slowly talked about his plan. Their seemingly arrogant and domineering purpose is just to test the background of Xianhei City. Now that Chen Jingwen is being beaten violently, and we choose to endure after being ridiculed, it will give them a feeling that Xianhei City is easily trampled. So in the near future, they will definitely choose to invade Xianhei City. The smile in Zhang Yi's eyes became stronger. At that time, in our territory, even the three Al-Qaeda organizations will be able to send more troops and use more resources of their own forces. Wouldn't it be better for us to wait for work and take advantage of the geographical advantage? Easy to kill them all? After Zhang Yi finished speaking, everyone in the room couldn't help exclaiming, wonderful. Your way is better. I was also pissed off by them just now, and I just wanted to fight with them. Fighting on our own home ground, laying traps and waiting for their arrival, so that our chances of winning will be greater and the battle damage will be smaller. Everyone admired Zhang Yi's mind very much, especially his calm state of mind. You must know that not everyone who is sternly ridiculed in person can remain rational. Luke Karen blinked curiously, looked at Zhang Yi and said, since that's the case, why didn't you explain it to Zhao Hanglian and them, big brother? Zhang Yi smiled lightly. There were so many people outside just now, how could you just say my plan casually? After returning to Xianhei City, I will tell them about this matter and let them cooperate with this operation. Moreover, give them a long memory and let them know what their current strength is. Who are they to rely on? Xianhei City was too comfortable before, with no foreign enemies invading. Although the three major bases were willing to respect Zhang Yi, they had illusions, and were unwilling to completely hand over all power to Zhang Yi. But this time, the threat of the alien organization in Days City is right in front of us. They will understand how important Zhang Yi is to them. This is a knock on them, and makes them more obedient. Before leaving, Zhang Yi had to meet Deng Shentang and Bailey Changqing. He called Bailey Changqing, but was told that they were busy at the combat center at this time. Zhang Yi then asked, "Is it for the Ronin organization in Linhai City?" Bailey Changqing reminded Zhang Yi in a deep voice, "This matter is more serious than imagined. I can't remind you, if there are too many, otherwise it will cross the line. In short, you can handle it yourself." Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat. The friendship between Bailey Changqing and him is not very deep, but he only owes him a favor. Being able to remind him of this is almost equivalent to telling him clearly that the task of besieging the eclipse is very dangerous. Zhang Yi knew it in his heart, and reconfirmed that there was nothing wrong with his thinking. Zhu Zheng asked them to carry out the mission. He wanted them to be the vanguard, first to find out the reality of the other party, and then dispatch the elite of Blizzard City. There is nothing wrong with this approach, and there are often tactics to lure troops on the battlefield. But Zhang Yi was not Zhu Zheng's soldier, so of course he couldn't put himself in danger. "Thank you, I understand." Zhang Yi hung up the call, and then planned to maintain a wait-and-see attitude towards this matter, and would not make a move for the time being. If the top management of Blizzard City really asked him to take action, they must also provide sufficient intelligence and combat readiness resources. He, Zhang Yi, never fights a battle unprepared, and never fights a battle he is not sure of. Bailey Changqing could not be contacted for the time being, and Zhang Yi reckoned that Deng Shentang was also busy. After all, only members of their two investigation teams are present in Blizzard City today, and Zhang Yi didn't have the contact information of Deng Shentang, so he could only decide to wait a few more days. If no one came to look for him again, Zhang Yi would go back to Xianhai City. Anyway, Blizzard City didn't ask them to leave within a few days. Zhang Yi told the people around him, including the people from the three major bases, not to conflict with people from any forces during this period. No matter how others ridicule, just pretend they didn't hear it. Just as Zhang Yi thought, what happened in Xianchang Guild Hall that day quickly spread to the alien groups in 12 cities. For a while, Xianhai City became a laughingstock, used by everyone as a joke after dinner. They ridiculed them for being timid and timid to fight, although they are very close to Linhai City, but they dare not go to encircle and suppress the Ronin. Taunting them for their lack of strength, the leader of Chaoyu base was beaten like a dog by Sun Jianming of Days City. Taunting them that they are weak and can be bullied, they were bullied before their eyes, but they ran away silently without saying a word. These words are indeed very ugly, and it makes people very unhappy after listening to them. But everyone was reminded by Zhang Yi, and chose to ignore these words. They even stayed in the room without leaving the apartment at all. But these words caused a huge earthquake in someone's heart. That person is Chen Jingwen, the current leader of Chaoyu base. The ridicule and humiliation Xianhai City received hurt him the most, because almost everyone saw him being beaten up by Sun Jianming that day. Now, his reputation has been discredited, and even the subordinates of the Chaoyu base who brought him around have undergone subtle changes in their attitude towards him. Chen Jingwen was in his room, looking at the distant sky. The falling snowflakes reminded him of his old leader Wei Dinghei. "Boss, I miss you," Chen Jingwen murmured. Wei Dinghei was slapped to death by Yuan Kanggai because he coveted Yuan Kanggai's origin. In desperation, he could only bite the bullet and push forward. He originally thought that, if there was no war in Xianhai City, he could sit back and relax. But he didn't expect a rally in Blizzard City to expose his strength. After all, he is just a Gamma level alien, and he is completely incomparable with Delta level power leaders like Zhao Hanglian and Crossing Shan. In Blizzard City, Sun Jianming didn't dare to kill them, but after exposing his strength, would Sun Jianming lead the fleet to attack them from the sea? If that's the case, the Chaoyu base will be completely finished in the future, and it won't be too far from destruction. Chapter 598. The trip to Blizzard City allowed Chen Jing to see clearly that his level of strength was not enough to support a strong base force. After thinking about it for a long time, he finally made a decision. That day, he came outside Zhang Yi's room and rang the doorbell. When Zhang Yi saw Chen Jingwen coming, after thinking about it for a while, he thought that he wanted to ask him to help him avenge him. So Zhang Yi opened the door, intending to say a few words to dismiss him. Unexpectedly, after Chen Jingwen entered the door, he knelt down on the ground in front of Zhang Yi. Chen Jingwen pressed his head tightly to the ground and said very sincerely, "Mr. Zhang Yi, please take over the Zhaoyu base." Zhang Yi was a little surprised, and only after hearing what Chen Jingwen said clearly did he know why he did this. Zhang Yi lowered his head and looked down at Chen Jingwen. His eyes were clear, and he thought, he has figured it out. The Zhaoyu base will perish sooner or later in his hands. In order for Zhaoyu base to survive, he must rely on my strength. Zhang Yi remained calm, secretly calculating the gains and losses of taking over the Zhaoyu base. In terms of loss, it's nothing. It's nothing more than the group of people in Zhaoyu base. He has to control their life and death. Although it is a bit troublesome, the Zhaoyu base can be self-sufficient, and there is no big problem. Just make sure they can't be attacked by other factions. As for the benefits, Zhang Yi can completely control the Zhaoyu base. There are more than 1,000 people there. Although there are fewer fighters, the rest are professionals who are proficient in navigation and fishing. If he needs to go to sea someday, these people will be very useful. After thinking about it for a while, Zhang Yi felt that this deal was a good deal. However, he couldn't agree so readily. Zhang Yi remained silent for a long time, which made Chen Jingwen, who was kneeling on the ground, feel uneasy. Zhang Yi won't look down on Zhaoyu base, right? Speaking of which, their team is all elites, and there is no shortage of supplies. It wouldn't be surprising if they looked down on us. But right now, the only person I can rely on is him. At this moment, Zhang Yi's voice sounded from above his head. Get up first. Tell me what you think about this matter. Zhang Yi walked to the sofa in the living room and sat down. Chen Jingwen raised his head when he heard the words, saw Zhang Yi's expression was indifferent, and couldn't see his thoughts clearly. Chen Jingwen got up worried and walked over. Then Chen Jingwen sat across from Zhang Yi. He had already thought about his words in his heart, so he spoke to Zhang Yi about his plan. I have been in the fleet of Zhaoyu base for 7 years, and I have a deep relationship with this fleet. Now that old Wei died in the battle, I have to shoulder the burden of the base leader. But my strength is not good, and now it is because of my mistakes that people look down on Zhaoyu base. In today's troubled times, someone must be eyeing the fat meat of Zhaoyu base. Presumably, it won't be long before they invade. Chen Jingwen clenched his hands on his knees. We don't have the ability to protect ourselves now. If the Zhaoyu base is destroyed, the old brothers in the fleet don't know what fate will usher in. So I hope Zhang Yi, you can succeed me as the leader of Zhaoyu base and protect the brothers in the base. Zhang Yi nodded. What you said seems to make sense. Once foreign enemies invade, no one knows what they will do after they occupy Zhaoyu base. If you encounter a ferocious one, you may even carry out a large-scale massacre. Zhaoyu base not only has soldiers and skilled workers, but also their families, old and weak, women and children. Once captured, will people from other forces raise these people? Don't gamble on human nature. Betting on dogs will not end well. And Chen Jingwen knew Zhang Yi well. Although Zhang Yi is very cruel, he is ruthless and scheming on the battlefield. But he will not kill innocent people indiscriminately. If he becomes the master of Zhaoyu base, those in Zhaoyu base will be safe. Zhang Yi suddenly laughed. You are smart. You know that I'm lazy and don't like to take care of so many people. Even if Zhaoyu base admits that I'm the master, don't I have to leave it to you to take care of it? Chen Jingwen quickly said, but if you have an order, don't dare not obey. As long as you can protect the safety of Zhaoyu base, we will satisfy all your demands. Whether it is food, weapons, and ammunition, or even women, we will offer them. Chen Jingwen gritted his teeth. There are many beautiful women in our base. If you don't dislike wives, you can also. Don't. Zhang Yi quickly interrupted Chen Jingwen's words. The few in the family are enough for him to keep busy, and he is not interested in breaking up families. According to you, Chen Jingwen, who am I, Zhang Yi? Chen Jing looked at Zhang Yi eagerly, his eyes filled with pleading. Zhang Yi smiled and said, now do you understand how much trouble you have caused? Chen Jingwen's face was gloomy. I know, I was too impulsive. Zhang Yi leaned on the sofa and said lightly, it's not a problem for me to become the owner of Chaoyu Base. You hand over the key to Chaoyu Sanctuary. The Chaoyu Base has two cores, one is the fleet, and the other is the underground shelter. The refuge has a special key, and only the key can open the door. In other words, whoever holds the key to the shelter is the real owner of the shelter. Zhang Yi learned about this matter from crossing Xi'an. Without hesitation, Chen Jingwen reached out and took out a black metal box from the jacket pocket and handed it to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi had seen the key to the refuge, and Chen Jingwen couldn't fool him. It's a black box in which 3 keys are stored. Generally speaking, the 3 keys are kept by 3 people, and only by putting them into the key card slot in the box can the control authority of the refuge door be obtained. But now, all the keys are in Chen Jingwen's hands. He holds one set in his own hand, and the other set is handed over to Zhang Yi. That is to say, from now on, Chaoyu Base has completely opened the door to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi took the key in the controller. He took a deep look at Chen Jingwen, and then the controller disappeared into the palm of his hand and entered a different space. Chen Jingwen's face was as if relieved, and he lowered his head deeply. Thank you, leader. The moment Zhang Yi accepted the key, it represented that he officially took over the Chaoyu Base. Zhang Yi said lightly, you are still in charge of the daily management of Chaoyu Base, and I will tell you to do anything. Yes. A smile appeared on Chen Jingwen's face. He regained the feeling of being a deputy again. Sure enough, he didn't have the qualifications to be a leader, and it was best for him to hang out with a boss. Boss, what should we do next? Should we return to Xianhei City, or find an opportunity to give those people in Days City? Chen Jingwen asked eagerly. Zhang Yi said lightly, I will deal with this matter naturally. After I return to Xianhei City for my order, I will tell you to do things. Seeing Zhang Yi's confident appearance, Chen Jing was relieved. After dealing with Zhang Yi for so long, he understands Zhang Yi's style of doing things. So he didn't ask any more questions, bowed deeply to Zhang Yi respectfully, and then left Zhang Yi's room. Chapter 599 Deng Yuan. Zhang Yi simply ignored the rumors outside. A powerful person is strong enough inside that the clown's remarks will only make him laugh. The next day, Bei Chunai came to find him. The appearance of the Celestial Squad member caused some commotion in the apartment. After all, the 6 major investigation teams represent Blizzard City's external violence agency. Some people have dealt with them and know how terrifying these guys are. And the person Bei Chunai was looking for was Zhang Yi, who was not well known and who ran away without saying a word in front of the strangers in Days City, which was even more confusing. Bei Chunai ignored their rumors and went straight to Zhang Yi's residence. Zhang Yi has been waiting for his arrival and politely let him into the house for tea. Bei Chunai said with a smile, there are a lot of rumors about you recently. Zhang Yi smiled lightly, it's just some boring people, I don't bother to talk to them. Bei Chunai took a sip of tea. You really have a good temper. He has seen Zhang Yi's strength. Even if he is placed in the investigation team, he is at an upper middle level. Now seeing Zhang Yi's steady mind again, he couldn't help admiring Zhang Yi. Tonight, our captain invited you to meet him at his manor. Bei Chunai said. When Zhang Yi heard the word manor, he couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Did you just say, the manor? He even suspected that something was wrong with his ears. Blizzard City has a radius of hundreds of kilometers, whether it is big or small. There are millions of people in the city, and all of them are elites in a certain industry. In such an environment, owning a set of 2 bedrooms and 1 living room is already a treatment that only super elites can enjoy. As for the estate, it's unimaginable. Bei Chunai smiled and nodded. That's right. Our captain's family contributed a lot to the construction of Blizzard City. One of the conditions is that Blizzard City should be built in the area where Deng's family is located. Deng Yuan has existed for a long time and is not affected by the end times, so you don't have to be too surprised. How could Zhang Yi not be surprised? The Deng family? The big family in Jinling? Sorry, he never heard of it. But after thinking about it carefully, Zhang Yi felt relieved. Because the truly top-notch big families are often invisible, but the energy they possess is astonishingly huge. Sorry, I'm ignorant. I've never heard of the Deng family. I don't know what kind of family this is. Zhang Yi asked. The smile on Bei Chunai's face grew stronger. It was a secret in the past, but it is no longer the case. The Deng family has considerable power and wealth, and many groups in the south of the Yangtze River belong to their family. Among them, the high-tech industry is the most famous. Well, how should I put it? You should have seen the origin bomb, and the combat uniforms worn by the investigation team, right? Zhang Yi nodded. Those things made him very coveted. Bei Chunai said, those were built with the help of the Deng family. It can be said that without the support of the Deng family, the strength of the Jiangnan region would have lost at least %. Zhang Yi cursed secretly in his heart. Big dog. But there was still a shocked expression on his face. It's so powerful. Bei Chunai folded his arms, and Zhang Yi's expression made him very satisfied, which could be seen from the pride on his face. So you should know what a great honor it is for you to be favored by our captain, right? Zhang Yi nodded. It is indeed an honor. Beautiful words still have to be said. Bei Chunai put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. The captain will meet you at 6 o'clock tonight. At 5 o'clock, a car will come to pick you up. Just don't run around. Zhang Yi nodded. Okay, I will definitely go to the appointment on time. After Bei Chunai finished speaking, she left the apartment. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and fell into deep thought. He began to look at Deng Shentang again. She has a strong family background, powerful supernatural talents, maybe because of the family's cultivation, and arrogant and conceited personality. Even if this kind of person can't be a partner, try not to create conflicts. At that time, say a few good words, and then find a better excuse to evade the other party's solicitation. That's it. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a black limousine came to the front of the apartment building. The vehicle has no brand name, but it looks calm and heavy, as if it is not a car, but a tank. When you look closely, you will find that its surface is not even reflective. Two people in black combat uniforms got out of the car, came to the apartment, and found Zhang Yi's room. Mr. Zhang Yi, my young master invites you to go and have a talk, a man in black said. Zhang Yi knew that they were sent by Deng Shentong, so he nodded and followed them out. There were many spectators nearby, and there was a lot of discussion. I don't know which big person Zhang Yi was taken away by. Only a few insiders secretly wondered. What kind of ability does this Zhang Yi have, so that the captain of the Xianshan team invited him over? Could it be that there are still powerful figures in Xianhe City, so they should not be underestimated? Zhang Yi got into the car. The internal structure looked very ordinary, not very gorgeous, but it feels very safe. Even the car door is nearly centimeters thick, so it should be made of some kind of special defensive material. The means of transportation in the last days, in addition to having a heating system, the most important thing is defense. Zhang Yi sat in the back seat and crossed his arms. The driver in front and the other man in black didn't speak, but drove in the direction of Deng Yuan silently. After about half an hour, they stopped in a park northeast of Blizzard City. The man in black, the co-pilot, explained the situation to the inside through the communication device. Soon, the gate of the park opened. The man in black said to Zhang Yi, Mr. Zhang, please get out of the car. Because a lady of the Deng family hates the smell of gasoline, our car cannot drive into the manor. Zhang Yi smiled, nodded and said, okay. He is not a hypocritical figure. Zhang Yi got out of the car. At this time, a small door opened on the side of the gate. Bei Chunai stood there, looking at Zhang Yi with a smile on his face. You're here? Come with me, and wait for a while. The captain still has some things to do, and it will be over soon. It is good. Zhang Yi didn't say much, and followed Bei Chunai into Deng Garden. The Deng family's manor is very large and gorgeous, and it is even a little surprising that it is so gorgeous. The weather is so cold that most of the plants have been frozen to death. In Deng's manor, there are some plants that have been cultivated in special transparent petri dishes, and they are still verdant. It's just that there are not many such plants, only some extremely rare species, and they are still placed under the eaves. The manor is very large, and soldiers armed to the teeth can be seen guarding every entrance and exit. When Zhang Yi came, he was looking forward to it, but after seeing it, he also felt that it was not the case. Compared with his sanctuary, except that it is bigger, there is nothing special about it. Chapter 600 Language Arts. Bei Chunai brought Zhang Yi into a room. The temperature inside was very comfortable, and the decoration in the room was also very fashionable. It may not be appropriate to describe it as gorgeous, but it is full of modern style, and the furniture in the room is all cyberpunk style, giving people a sense of vitality. Baichunai said to Zhang Yi, "You wait here for a while, our captain will come over after handling the matter over there." As he spoke, he clapped his hands, and immediately a waitress came in with a teapot and poured Zhang Yi a cup of tea. "Thank you," Zhang Yi said politely, picked up the teacup, and took a sip of tea. Baichunai left the room. Zhang Yi looked at the surrounding layout and waited for Deng Shentang. Outside is a big French window with a view of a garden and a lake or something. At least it used to be. It's all frozen now, Zhang Yi said in his heart. Although it is a big family in Blizzard City with strong financial resources, it is still impossible to provide heating in the entire manor. Money is useless today. The distribution of resources is based on the degree of contribution. Even big families can't waste it. After all, ZHU Zeng would not agree. And the room was like a safe haven for a rich second generation young man. There was a soft sofa, a large TV was hung on the wall, and many game console cassettes were scattered on the carpet. Zhang Yi casually picked up the remote control on the coffee table and turned on the TV. Not surprisingly, it was all snowflakes. It is possible to play games and the like, but considering that the time is too short, Zhang Yi still gave up this idea. Otherwise, if you don't enjoy playing, it is better not to play. The waiting time was not very long. In less than half an hour, Deng Shentang's voice came from outside the door. "Zhang Yi, you're here." Zhang Yi glanced at the time. It was 5:58. Unexpectedly, the captain of the celestial team was quite punctual. Deng Shentang took off the jacket on his body. His slender body was tall and vigorous, and it looked like he had been exercising a lot on weekdays. Zhang Yi looked back at him. "Just arrived for a while." Deng Shentang took out a hair rope from his pocket, tied his long hair into a ponytail, then put on his slippers, and came to Zhang Yi's side. Crunchy sat down on the sofa and let out a leisurely breath, as if he had experienced some hard work. Zhang Yi looked at him curiously. "The feeling of the captain today is very different from last time. Are there flowers on my face?" Deng Shentang asked with a smile. There was an evil charm on his handsome face. "That's not true. It's just that you are so handsome. I can't help but take a second look," Zhang Yi replied with a smile. This time, Deng Shentang was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Zhang Yi to play cards so unreasonably. There are not many people who would speak to him in this tone on weekdays. "Ha ha 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 ha. You are so interesting." Deng Shentang slapped his thigh. "By the way, I heard that you didn't sign up for the operation to encircle and suppress the Neon Eclipse group. How did you think about it?" A question for no reason. Zhang Yi thought for a while and replied with a smile. 13 cities in the south of the Yangtze River. Even if the investigation team of Blizzard City and Yanyanwei don't take action, there are still dozens of forces in the 12 outer cities. One more than me is not too much, and one less than me is not too little. You should have heard that today's sea market is full of ruins, and our families have been seriously injured. It is not suitable to go to war now. Deng Shentang touched his chin and nodded after listening to Zhang Yi's words. "It makes some sense, but your strength is obviously much higher than other aliens in the outer city. If you go, I think you are more likely to kill the Ronin." A strange light flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. What did Deng Shentang mean by saying that suddenly? "But I'm not alone. I represent a team." Deng Shentang smiled disapprovingly. "If you don't go, don't go. I'm just asking casually. Maybe your choice is better." Deng Shentang knew the inside story of the matter, but he couldn't tell Zhang Yi about it. When Zhang Yi heard what he said, the guess in his heart became clearer. Probably as he thought, the Eclipse team in Linhai City is definitely not that easy to deal with. Next, Deng Shentang said, "I won't play around with you anymore. I called you here today, and you should know what my purpose is. How about it? Join my team." Deng Shentang looked at Zhang Yi with a smile and spread his right hand to introduce to him the various benefits of joining the Xianshan team. The Xianshan team is the strongest existence in the entire Jiangnan region. As long as you join us, you can walk sideways in Jiangnan from now on. You can enjoy the supreme glory and be feared by others. Of course, if it's a bit vulgar, I can satisfy you, even if what you want is women and goods. In a word, you can get everything you want with me. When Deng Shentang said this, his tone was full of confidence. He is not making a big deal for Zhang Yi, but he thinks that these things are easily available as his subordinates. Of course, they do have such strength. Zhang Yi sighed, "You are really amazing. I have seen many outstanding geniuses in my life, but this is the first time I have seen someone as rich and talented as you." Zhang Yi's praise made Deng Shentang very useful. He stretched out his hand to brush his long hair. "So, the world you have seen is too small, but you have the opportunity to follow me and see a wider world." He stretched out his right hand towards Zhang Yi. "Come on, become a member of my God Squad." Zhang Yi's eyes were full of grateful. This really touched me. Then after I join the Celestial Squad, will it be very safe and my life will not be in danger? Deng Shentang smiled confidently. "That's natural. I, Deng Shentang, have the ability to protect my team members." Zhang Yi let out a long sigh of relief. "Since this is the case, it will be easy. I can join the Celestial Squad," Zhang Yi said. Deng Shentang showed joy. But at the next moment, Zhang Yi said, "But I'm quite afraid of death. How about I stay in the city and take care of the logistics for you?" Deng Shentang's smile froze on his face. Are you kidding me?" Zhang Yi blinked. "Didn't you say you could guarantee my safety? I think it's safest to stay in Blizzard City." The corners of Deng Shentang's eyes twitched fiercely. "What I want is a player who can fight. If you don't go out, what use do I need you for?" But Zhang Yi explained, "I admire your strength and measure very much. So if I join the Xianshan team, I will definitely be able to live a better life than before, right? If you know anything about me, you should know that I stay in the shelter all day in Xianhei City, and I never leave voluntarily. Even my ability is mainly defensive. Ability represents the heart of a different person. This is my nature, so of course I won't take the initiative to attack." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.